Hi, hello, how y'all doing? Hope you're having a nice Friday, relaxing and all that good stuff before the weekend. Anyhow, for anybody new here, I'm Agent Solf. I also go by Card. You can call me however you prefer. It doesn't bother me. I'm a vampiric casino owner. What usually happens around the casino, I like to check out indie games, talk about ttrpgs, and play some games here and there, games that I find influential, enjoy them in some way or another, or I just want to check see what they're about, or simply I just want to check off something from my continuously accumulating backlog, actually. Because yeah, that's also a thing. But yeah, to add a bit more details. Why do I talk about want to talk about indies? They're the ones innovating, trying new things, keeping the industry fresh, and we should show support to the little guy the best way we can, especially in these trying times of the industry. My way of doing it is I play them on stream, discuss about them, say what they're good, what is good about them. Basically just simply having my own opinion of them, and for the duration of the playthrough I basically have them featured on the stream with all the information there. But additionally with that, you can also use the command indie that gives you all of the required info, which I again forgot to update, but it's still somewhat relevant because yes, it's from now on indies are gonna be on Saturday at 9 p.m. GMT. Maybe Sundays on special occasions, maybe, but in most cases it's gonna be Saturday is gonna be the time slot for indie games from now on. Saturday is more of a random day of if I feel like streaming kind of day. And yeah. Anyway, as I mentioned, I like to talk about TTRPGs because I enjoy them. They're fun. They're a good way of self-expression, and we should expand our horizon, especially as things have happened across that space as well throughout the recent years and months, and it's good to have different perspectives. And aside from that, I also am a player for a currently running Hunter the Reckoning campaign from the World of Darkness, the first edition, of course. And if currently at Ghost Plays channel on Monday around the 8:30 p.m. EST, if I'm correct about it, because time zones are weird. Yeah, it's mostly a kind of a US time zone type thing, and I'm the one that basically bites the bullet and is present there at really late hours. But I enjoyed it. I enjoy my time there. I like all the players that I'm with. So Ghost is a great storyteller and all that good stuff. So I don't hate the compromise or the sacrifice that I'm making, because it's something that I'm able and willing to make. But yeah, that kind of overall covers it. Aside from that, as you can also probably notice from the graph below, I am pushing to get affiliated. Yeah, it's a bit rough here and there. Currently, I just need to get that viewership average. Once I hit that, it's all good and dandy, because everything else has been basically checked off when it comes to hours of streaming, days of streaming, all that kind of stuff, because I've done it already for a bit, so there's no other issues. But yeah, if you enjoy your time here and want to show that kind of support and all that kind of good stuff, you can do it. If not, I understand. I may not be everybody's cup of tea. That's totally fine. But if once I reach affiliated, I'm gonna do like a special affiliated kind of a celebration stream once I get there. Most likely it's gonna be a longer one. We'll see if I can also bring in some friends here and there. I'll think about it. To be fair, it's not being fully planned, but I should probably think about it soon-ish in case I'll get there. Because I've had some decent streams recently, so I might push that viewership not that far from now. So we'll have to see. But I also, as you probably can see, I also still have like a normal follower goal or all that kind of stuff. If I reach the follower goal, I'm also gonna do like an extra stream or something like that. Maybe I'm gonna do like another rundown edition, because that's kind of what I was thinking of, the itch streams of the itch games stories, because that I still have a lot of itch games from the Palestine bundle that I bought I think almost a month ago, and there's still some interesting indies in there that I've seen that are like itch.io exclusive that maybe we can check out and have them on stream, kind of like as a bonus for reaching the affiliated. If not, maybe I'll think about something else. We'll see. Also, from now on, when I'm thinking about like special streams, they're also going to be a bit longer than what I've done before. Like usually most of the special streams have been like around like 6 hours. I think now with my current schedule, to kind of push it a bit more, I think I'm gonna make the effort and push them to like 8 hours and see how that goes. That might be something. And in some way kind of, you know, slot myself in a position where equally people who are both EU and US can view it without too much of an problem. Well, technically I would probably start around my 7 East European time, 7 p.m. East European time, and then just start from there for like 7 hours, and for like 7-8 hours, and basically that will cover all of them, because it basically covers this time slot for my when I usually start like at 7 East European time, and then, you know, when I do my usual like US stuff at the current hour, which is like 11 p.m. EST, EET, sorry, East European time zones. Weird, too many words, too many acronyms, it boggles the mind. But yeah, I think that enough with that kind of, you know, streaming and planning and all that kind of thing. Who knows, it might be some other stuff. I've seen some things on the socials that piqued my interest, and I'm gonna dip my toes into it and see what it gets out of it. I'm not gonna mention anything about it because, you know, it's just something I've noticed that maybe I could have a stab at and participate at, and we'll see. I'm gonna give, if it's gonna happen, I'm gonna give details as, you know, things develop. But anyhow, before I jump into anything, you know, topic related, again, a disclaimer which is required, and it's at the same time it's nice to basically mention it. Daggerheart, because I'm gonna cover like the Daggerheart material, and, you know, I need to make sure that everything is within the license. You know, this Daggerheart is a product created by it was created using the Darrington Press community gaming license. The Daggerheart Open Beta Materials are owned and copyrighted by Darrington Press, all rights reserved to them. This product is based on the following public game content created and owned by Darrington Press, the Daggerheart Open Beta Materials, the Darrington Press, you know, 2024, and you can also find everything at daggerheart.com of that good info. So let me just give that. Hello there, how's it going? Having a nice Friday? Also to close out the whole like oops, I have like, oh, it was here. Let me just, and in case you don't want to use the Daggerheart like material, like the PDF materials, and you want something more digital compendium like D&D Beyond and things like that, Demiplane also has all of that info on their website in a more of a digital compendium style, which is a bit more organized. That's usually how I check out the content myself. So yeah, but anyhow, hello there, how's it going, Nina? Hope you have a, I think I already said, like, I hope everything is good with you on this Friday evening, night, day, whatever your time zone may be. But yeah, and aside from that, a thing that I also usually like to do with the Daggerheart content, which is also a way to kind of ease ourselves into the stream and, you know, not necessarily get right into the topic, because, you know, some people might not necessarily know what Daggerheart is about, they might not necessarily know the system, and, you know, I've covered like the compendium and a lot of its content at a pretty large scale, at a pretty, you know, in detail scale, which basically meant looking through multiple chapters that went across multiple streams. So, you know, some people might jump in right in the middle of it and might not necessarily be familiar with how the system works. So at the very least, so everybody has some understanding of the game, I usually like to run the how to play Daggerheart video released by Critical Role. I also have I'm gonna have my own interventions here and there of the discussion, but I'm not gonna put too much intervention into that because, you know, I've done it already for quite a long time, and like the more heavy in details things about that video, I've done it, I think, in some of my first streams that covered the Daggerheart. So yeah, I'm not gonna add too much downtime, but you know, it's just a way to ease ourselves in. And you know, while the video runs, you can also ask your own questions, ask stuff about the game themselves. And also another thing, as you know, this is a stream where I discuss TTRPGs. I do want to make this open every time I'm doing a TTRPG stream. These are, you know, I want this to be a platform where, you know, discussions can be had openly. Like if you want to talk anything related to TTRPGs, could it be a different system or different games, you could ask like advice, that kind of stuff, or anything of the sorts. Go ahead, ask it, even if it's not related to the topic. I do not care. The topic is just here to be as a filler in case nobody has anything to discuss or wants to talk about, and all that kind of stuff. Why didn't I get affiliated yet? Oh, simple. Affiliated has I think 3 requirements. Free? I think it's free. Yeah, it has 3 requirements. It's the follower amount. Usually, it's the follower amount. You need like a minimum of 50 followers, which I've reached. It's the I forgot. No, it's 4 requirements. Sorry. Yeah, it's the follower amount. It's the amount of days streamed. You need to stream for like 7 days minimum. I've already done that a long time ago, and you need to have like a total of 8 hours minimum of streaming, like accumulated, not on average, which I've already done. The only problem is you also need a viewership average across a month. That viewership average for like 1 month needs to be 3 viewers or more. Unfortunately, so far I've not kept that kind of viewership consistent. My schedule has been a bit more all over the place. Starting from this week onwards, my schedule is a bit more consistent. Like from now on, I'm having set stream days from Wednesday through Saturdays. These are gonna be my set-in days for streaming. Any other day, it's more of a random day that where maybe I feel like streaming, maybe I don't feel like streaming. Usually those are considered my days off, but maybe I'll jump in for like an occasional stream. For example, on Sunday I'm gonna do one because I want to check out Withering Waves, the recently released gacha, and I want to look at it and have my own opinions of it. And you know, we can also discuss things about like tricks and methods that gacha games use when it comes to game design, of how they are so effective. And you know, we can also have like a game design discussion about that while I'm playing it. So yeah, that's one thing. So yeah, that's probably it, because up until this week, my stream days have been a bit more over the place, and probably for viewers that don't know me too well, they can't keep up with those streams. From now on, they're a bit more consistent, so that's kind of the reason. I didn't get that average yet. I'm still building up to it. I've done so far with this week, you know, if we're talking about like numbers, yes, they've started to be a lot better. So I'm hoping that this change, it's actually gonna work in the long run. Yeah, I'm glad you hear that. Yeah, because I've talked with some other like streamer friends of mine, and yeah, they basically kind of told me that probably one of my biggest issues was that, you know, my streaming days were not consistent. Because yes, I was consistent when it comes to like hours and all that kind of stuff, but basically the way I did it before this week, I'd streamed once every 2 days, which created like a 2-week format of streaming. Like 1 week it was a specific format, the next week it was another format, and you know, it really changes and all that kind of thing. So basically, because it was constantly changing from week to week, I'm guessing the average viewer wasn't keeping up with it, or was not necessarily consistent, or didn't know when I was streaming. So that's probably the issue. So from now on, I decided, okay, I'm gonna have my set days. To be fair, this schedule that I'm mentioning right now was the schedule that I was planned to have once I got affiliated, but I decided to do it early on because aside from the affiliated goal that I set for myself, nothing stopped me from doing it. It was just something that I wanted to do it kind of as a goal reach kind of thing, but I've realized that it would be equally beneficial for me and for you to do it from now on, because it also helps me to schedule things that I'm doing off stream, because now having 3 days that are continuously free allows me to do things behind the scenes that are not necessarily related to streams, because I have some stuff in the works that I like to get back onto it, because I've put it on the backlog for a long while and it's kind of bothered me. So yeah. Also, oh damn, you've been a follower for 3. Oh yeah, so you've been, I think you've been a follower almost since I think I started streaming, because I have like almost I have over 3 months of streaming. That's for sure. But I don't think I'm like, I think I'm 3 months and a half almost. Yeah. So yeah, we've been here for almost from the beginning. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, for anybody here that has been following me or has necessarily, or maybe it's a bit more interested in what I'm gonna do from now on, yes. Wednesdays through Saturdays, those are my definite stream days that I'm actually gonna stream, in case, you know, there's nothing health-wise or outside of my own control that might happen during those days, because sometimes it do be like that. It, you know, I don't have control over everything, but you know, if it's within my control, yes, those are gonna be the set days. Anything around those days, it's up to my own it's up to chance. I might feel like it, I might not. This Sunday, yes, I've not put it on the schedule because it's something I've decided to do it as as the weeks went along, because I didn't know about Withering Waves, that it was gonna get released. I found from some friends that were about to play it as well, so I was like, actually, you know what, yeah, let's check it out, have a discussion about it, maybe talk about like certain like game design aspects about gachas and things like that, and I can check it out, but you know, I don't want to change things for my current schedule, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do it like an extra stream for Sunday and have it there kind of, and do it as a blind playthrough as well, so I have limited knowledge of what the game is about. I've heard some opinions already, so yeah, I'm gonna see how that goes. Did you think I'd be following you? You still haven't gotten any artwork commissioned? Still haven't got any artwork commissioned from... Wait, did you I mean, look, when it comes to commissions and things like that, look, I'm gonna be to pick a bit behind the veil of my facade and all things. All of the things that you see here that I have on my stream available, that you see visually, graphics and all of that, are things that that can be acquired for free. They are like that because I currently do not have the means to commission, and I don't like to ask for free stuff. That's the thing. I work in the game development industry. I've worked with artists, I've worked with concept artists. I know the work that goes into that kind of thing, even though I'm not an artist myself. And I don't like that kind of work to go for free. So no, I'm not gonna ask for anything like that until I'm able to actually pay somebody. Currently, I cannot. I wish. Believe me, I have a lot of people within my circle that I've met once, that I've met and, you know, discussed and collaborated with, that I would love to commission. I would love to pay them to do some stuff for me, but I currently can't. I do not have the means. I'm in a rough position because, as I mentioned, I'm a game dev, so probably you understand what's happening with me right now if you've seen the game dev news across the almost year. I think it's been a year since all of the layoffs have happened, so yeah, I think more than a year. I don't know, I'm not sure which was like the first layoff that kind of kicked off all of the dominoes after the fact, so yeah. But anyhow, yeah, no worries at all. Yes, don't worry, yes, it's not something yeah, but it's fine. I'm pushing through. I'm finding myself. I'm finding new things that I want to do. I'm exploring myself creatively. I kind of use this as an opportunity to try new things at this moment, so I don't mind it. Maybe I needed after some time, I've kind of realized that I think I needed the break anyways, and probably needed to see what exactly I wanted out of certain things. And I'm still passionate about game development. I'm still passionate about creating game stuff, game related things. I just, you know, I think I needed a break. I think I've been burned out long before I even got into the business, long before I've even started working. So yeah, that's one thing. But anyhow, that's kind of besides the point. So let's
My name is Matthew Mercer. And I'm
oh, just as I'm about to start. Hi there, V. How's it going? And hello there, Raiders. Let me just give you a quick shout out. Damn it. So what were you doing? Oh, Hollow Knight, nice. Oh, and thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. Oh, damn, again. Oh, you. Of course, now I've reached the follower goal. Damn you. I now have to make plans, which I have not yet made. Play Steel Soul mode. Okay, hardcore. Thank you for explaining, because I was about to say, I'm guessing it's a kind of hardcore mode. Because I know of Hollow Knight, I have not yet had the opportunity or chance to play it. I'm not sure even if I even have the game. I think I bought it. I don't remember. I have to check. But it's one of the many games in the list that I would like to play and check out at some point. But yeah, yeah, that's only fine. We go ahead. And for anybody who jumped from the raid, you know, if you want to do like some post-stream aftercare and that kind of stuff, I totally understand. Yeah, have a great lunch, dinner, I'm not sure. Actually dinner, I'm guessing. But yeah, have a nice meal, V. I appreciate it and appreciate the raid. And yeah, go ahead and lurk. But yeah, for anybody new here that jumped from V streams, hi, I'm Adrian Solf. I also go by card. Call me however you prefer. It does not bother me. I'm a vampiric casino owner. What usually happens around the casino? I like to check out indies, talk about ttrpgs, and you know, play some games here and there. Games that I find influential, that I think they're fun, or simply I want to check off something from my backlog, one of the others. Guys, you know, everybody has a backlog that they need to finish at some point, maybe. Oh boy. But yeah, to add a bit more details, why do I like to stream indies? Because they're the ones that are innovating, trying new things, keeping the industry fresh, and you know, we should do our best to support the little guy. My way of doing it is I play them on stream, I talk about them, should, you know, have my own opinions of them, and for the duration of a playthrough, they are featured on my details page on the channel. And additionally, if you want, you can use the command indie, although I think the comment is still in chat, the command, but still, you have an access to a link with the schedule. Asterisk, only Saturdays from now on. Sundays are just a random free day for me, which maybe I'll stream, maybe I'll not stream. But Saturday 9 PM GMTs, that's when I'm doing the indies. And yeah, and you also have access to a link with all of the popular, more well-known stores where you can get the current indie that I'm playing, as well as also a list of all of the previous indies that I've played, with all of those links still on the page. So yeah, and yeah, aside from that, as I mentioned, I like to talk about TTRPGs. Currently, this is a TTRPG stream. Even though I like to focus on a topic and I like to choose a topic, and currently what I'm doing with Daggerheart, I'm basically going through the chapters of the compendium that I've been given through the playtest material, and just read them out, have my own opinions of them, and discuss around them. But if you want to discuss of anything else, ask opinions, ask for advice, want to vent, or simply just talk about your own personal experience in the TTRPG space, be it related to the topic or not, this is a platform where you can do it. That's kind of what I want to do with the TTRPG streams. I want them to be a platform for anybody to openly discuss about these kinds of subjects and this more broad general topic when it comes to TTRPGs. Because I've had in the past discussions and with some people in the chat about, you know, that I've asked opinions in how to run certain things, or you know, their own opinions about like certain systems, that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm open about those discussions if you want to have them. While in the meantime, I'll also discuss about the topic. So yeah, but before, you know, I Also hi there again. Thank you so much for the follow. Monza, I think I'm pronouncing that right. Hopefully, I'm bad with some stuff. But yeah, oh boy, because yeah, I think I've reached the goal now, which I think I should probably update. Let me just let me do that right now. Right? Have I not reached it? I don't know. 1 second. Manage goals. Oh no, I'm one off. It's fine. I thought for a second there I forgot I reached it. I had the number off for a reason. Actually, yeah, because I would have gotten the notification if I did. Yeah, I'm a bit scatterbrained. It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, I think now you've kind of pressured me to kind of figure out what I'm gonna do for the 75 follow mark. Because I have an idea. My current idea right now is to maybe do another round of itch.io indie streams, like indie game stream, like basically with games that are itch.io exclusive, and have like a longer stream for of that. I'm thinking like a 6 to 8 hour stream, that kind of thing, like I did like last time when I got like last time when I reached the 50 follower goal for the affiliated path. Because yeah, as you can see, I'm also pushing to get that affiliate approval. I have most of the requirements. I just need the viewership average, that's all. Once I get that, I'm totally I should be all good. So yeah, hopefully that turns out well in the future, because I've done some changes with my scheduling and all that thing, all of that stuff. So it should probably be a bit more equally beneficial to you and to me, because I've also done it, so it helps me to do some stuff behind the scenes. But yeah, where I left off. Oh right, the Daggerheart stuff. So yeah, because the topic is Daggerheart, and it's still a new system in current playtest, and maybe some people that are jumping into this do not necessarily know what it's about or how the system exactly works. So before I jump into the topic, I like to run the video of how to play Daggerheart that has been provided by Critical Role, and basically go through it. Maybe occasionally jump, stop it, and have my own say in some elements of it, but I mostly let it run through because I've already talked about this section many streams before, and I just want it to be kind of as an entryway into the stream, and also for everybody present on the stream to kind of be at some level of understanding of what the game is about before we jump into more general or more detailed topics about it.
Spencer Stark.
And we are inviting you here to this video to learn how to play Daggerheart, a new RPG that is currently in development.
So before we get into the basics, we just want to remind all of you that this game is now currently in open beta. So things discussed in this video may change, shift, go away, be added to, and that's part of the process of making a game.
Indeed. To learn more and even join our open beta playtest, go check out daggerheart.com. So dive in, break the game, tell us what works, what doesn't work, what you love about it, what you hope to see added, and tell us all that through the official Daggerheart open beta surveys.
The more people who play the game, the better we can make it. So jump in and help us break this thing, because we are so excited to build this game with you and not just for you. So please play often and submit those surveys so we know what you like and what you don't.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, to jump in here, because this is a thing that I always like to mention as a game developer myself. Yes, if any of you play the game, try the system in any way, and have perspectives and opinions on it, yes, do complete the survey, do offer your feedback, because this kind of thing is monumentally valuable. It's invaluable. It's so because no amount of internal testing or QA can amount to the scale that a global wide range of players can offer when it comes to information, data, and all that kind of stuff, when it comes to deciding what to balance, what to change, and what to improve about a game. So yeah, I heavily encourage you to do that and try your best of stress testing all that you receive from the game, because that's also an important aspect of the game. Nobody is asking necessarily, when it comes to playtesting, nobody's just asking you to play it as intended. They're also asking you to push it to its limits, see what makes it, what makes and breaks it, and so that later down the line they can make changes that are equally beneficial to you as a player and to the vision of the creators, because, you know, as they mentioned in the video, they want to create a system that follows their own vision, but at the same time also is within the vision of their own player base. Yeah, send surveys, do all that kind of stuff, offer feedback whenever you have the chance, if you are actually gonna try the system.
So Daggerheart is a fantasy tabletop role-playing game that sort of blends the narrative and the like crunchy together.
Yeah, I like that it helps facilitate gameplay that is both theater of mind, if that's your preference, but also easy enough to also play it more tactically and to use maps and minis like I love to do with our sessions.
The game doesn't really stop down when you're doing combat. You just kind of continue to play the way you do throughout the entire rest of the game. And so everything flows in and out of itself. So it allows you to really focus on the story that you all are telling. And
deeply customizable character creation and development process throughout the mechanics of the game.
It is a long-term campaign game, so it runs over the course of 10 levels, which gives you plenty of fodder to be able to play a year-long campaign with, if that is something that you want, but could also jump in and play a one-shot or a couple of sessions, and works just as well for that.
Yeah, one of the things you can really expect from Daggerheart is a game that gives you tools, if you want to use them, to rapidly create in-depth characters that have dynamic relationships with the other players and characters at the table, as well as an opportunity and tools for the GM and the players to build a world together. You can make and play or run a game as deep or as shallow or as simple or as robust as you want to. And the intent of Daggerheart is to give you all those tools at your disposal and teach you how to implement them in your game, so you can kind of pick and choose what it is you enjoy about this, or run the full gamut and go all in. Now let's get into the basics of Daggerheart. Duality dice are sort of the bread and butter for Daggerheart. They consist of 2 different colored 12-sided die, your hope die and your fear die. Now you choose which is which, and for us, we're using this brighter colored one as our hope die, and this kind of darker red colored one as our fear die.
Anytime your GM asks you to make an action roll, you'll roll both your hope die and your fear die, and you add them together along with any relevant modifiers, represented by little tokens like this.
You know, the tokens can also be coins or beads, or you can just do the math in your head, but it helps to have these little representations right there next to the dice you rolled to do the quick math.
Then you tell the GM your result, along with whether your hope die or your fear die rolled highest. For example, let's say Travis is playing Bertrand Bell and is making an agility roll. He has a +1 to his agility trait, and he ends up rolling a 9 on his hope die and a 4 on his fear die, plus the 1. He'd add all that together and then tell the GM that he got a 14 with hope.
Yeah, now if a 14 meets or beats the difficulty decided by the GM, he succeeds on his agility roll, and he also gains 1 hope for rolling with hope.
Every time your hope die is higher, you gain a hope, which is a liquid resource your character can spend to aid allies or activate special abilities.
Now sometimes your character might have an experience that you could further modify an action roll in their favor. Like maybe your character has a haggler as an experience when trying to negotiate with a shopkeeper, or expert herbalist when looking for medicinal plants in the vicinity.
So you can spend a hope before the roll and describe how that experience helps you, and then add its value to your roll. You add it all up, and if it meets or beats the difficulty score, you succeed. But your hope and fear die influence what happens next.
Indeed, if you succeed with hope, you get what you want, and you gain 1 hope. You can spend that later on. But if you succeed and roll with fear, you get what you want, but it may come with a consequence or add a complication. Additionally, the GM takes a fear token, a liquid resource that the GM can use to affect the story both in and out of combat, but we'll cover that later.
If you fail with hope, you don't get what you want and will likely face consequences, but you still gain a hope. And if you fail with fear, you don't get what you want and you may suffer major consequences. Additionally, the GM takes a fear token.
Now lastly, if you roll doubles on the 2 dice, you get a critical success, which means you get exactly what you want, you gain a hope, you clear a stress, and possibly some other cool benefits alongside it. Well, now that we've explained the basics of the duality dice, let's lightly skim the character creation process.
Yeah, overall, in the system, I really enjoy. I found it really interesting. So let me just find a moment. Where is it? I just had it there and I missed it now. Ah, damn it. There you go.
And on his hope die, 14.
There you go. Yeah, I really like the 2d12 system. It's really neat. It's interesting. First of all, you know, they're highlighting one of the more underused polyhedral dice as basically, because, you know, D12. I think for those of you who are more familiar with like stuff like D&D and I think also Pathfinder, the D12 is not as often used. I'm not sure with Pathfinder though, because I have not played enough to actually know or looked into it. But you know, for anybody who's kind of familiar with that, with those systems, you know, number-wise, it's kind of in the same area as those games when it comes to what numbers you'd achieve and what numbers you'd get as results. But the aspect I like more about it is the concept of rolling with fear and rolling with hope. As you know, it's kind of a constantly working like balanced system. Like yeah, hope more than anything, it's more of an idea of kind of a general resource that everybody can use, and that can apply to multiple things. Could be abilities, could be spells, could be so many other aspects. So it's a more dynamic way of kind of utilizing your own features and your abilities that can really make a change in the scenes, combat scenarios, or whatever else you're accomplishing. But more specifically, I also like the aspect of fear, because if the fear resource for the game master is kind of also a way for them to balance, to rethink an encounter, and to kind of, you know, adapt as they go. It's basically a built-in method for the game masters to adapt on the spot, which I see it as a really good option for, especially for new game masters who are not necessarily familiar with ttrpgs and aren't necessarily as used to aspects of improv or changing things on the spot. The fear token can allow you some leeway of already having something built in mechanically to tell you like, hey, this is how often you should do these changes, and this is kind of how much of these changes you should do. sorry about that. I had like a weird tickle. Yeah, and plus with aside from that, you know, it also offers you like a 5-tier like outcome system, where, you know, you get the critical, you get the success with hope, success with fear, fail with hope, and fail with fear, which, you know, it offers you kind of a broad options of how exactly to think of the consequences when somebody's doing their own actions. Plus, I also like that, you know, the game system itself has some novel approaches in how to visualize certain aspects like bonuses, proficiencies, that kind of stuff, and a bit more simplistic and makeshift, because that's also another thing. It's an interesting combination when it comes to Daggerheart of it's crunchier in kind of a numbers game in its right places, but at the same time it's a lot more free flowing, it's a lot more open to your own interpretation in the others, so it's not so restrictive compared to maybe some other systems where you'll hear a lot of like actually, or some kind of classic rules lawyer kind of intervention. This system offers you a lot more freedom of how you approach a situation and how you handle certain scenarios, even equally as a player and as a game master.
For a deeper dive into character creation, check out our Daggerheart character creation video where I sit down with Travis Willingham and make Bertrand Bell, which is linked here.
But for the purposes of this video, we'll give you a brief overview. Our character classes are Bard, Druid, Guardian, Ranger, Rogue, Seraph, Sorcerer, Warrior, and Wizard.
Indeed.
Every class has one or more class features, which are spells and abilities that are unique to each class. Like the Rogue, for example, has a thing called Cloak, which allows them to move into a space where no enemies can see them and be effectively invisible as long as they don't move or attack.
Each class also consists of the meeting of 2 domains, which are like symbolic themes. Through these 2 domains, you pick and choose what abilities you want for your character by taking domain cards at character creation and every time you level up.
These domains are Arcana, the domain of innate or instinctual magic; Blade, the domain of weapon mastery; Bone, the domain of swiftness and tactical mastery; Codex, the domain of intensive magical study; Grace, the domain of charisma and enchantment; Midnight, the domain of shadow and secrecy; Sage, the domain of the natural world; Splendor, the domain of life and death; and Valor, the domain of protection.
So, for example, the Bard calls upon the charm and magnetism of the Grace domain, along with the lore and magic of the Codex domain. And if you want to cast a spell from a domain card you have, typically you'll have a spellcast roll. This works just like an action roll, but uses your spellcast trait that you can find on your subclass foundation card.
In Daggerheart, your base character traits are agility for things like sprinting, leaping, and maneuvering; strength for things like lifting, smashing, or grappling. Finesse, which is used for like hiding, tinkering, or fine motor control. Instinct, which is for like, navigating, perceiving, and sensing. Presence for charming, deceiving, and performing. And knowledge for analyzing, recalling, and comprehending. You begin with a standard array of traits, which you can increase as you level.
Now let's talk about hit points and stress.
Yeah.
Daggerheart, a character's overall health is represented.
Of course, Breeze, you know, you've been around here, so, you know, and I know you also stream here and there, so I'm sending, you know, appreciation my way as well. Yeah, I did a little bit of work today and got my dog groomed. Aw, that's nice. Oh, I'm fine, you know, just relaxing, talking about some ttrpg related stuff. But, you know, currently just going through the how to play Daggerheart video, kind of as a slow introduction for anybody who's new here and doesn't necessarily know about Daggerheart and that kind of stuff. And then, you know, we're just gonna run into how to do into their like running a campaign chapter and that kind of thing. Really wants to play, as I'm sure you know. Yeah, I think yeah, Troy mentioned it a few times, and to be fair, I would like to play it as well. I'm thinking about it. I've had some talks with some of my my hunter players, some of the other creators, so I might try it out sometime. Well, I personally would recommend it. It's a neat system. It's a light system overall. Like for anybody who's new to like the ttrpg scene, I feel like Daggerheart is one of the more easier entry levels. I don't think I've seen it because it simplifies some aspects of D&D, but it still has some of that familiarity. So even for people that are aware of the system but not necessarily know too much of it, it's a good entryway for it. And yeah, to be fair, I had kind of a discussion with the people that I'm playing the Hunter the Reckoning, and we've discussed about the possibility that, you know, from some time here and there we might jump into doing some other systems and other streams, and maybe we let somebody else at the helm or do something different. We're still discussing when it's still in kind of that thought process page. So, you know, I'm thinking about if I should maybe run one myself for like a stream or something like that. Because, you know, for like IRL groups and that kind of thing, the only people that I know from here that are a few hours away, like a few hours like a drive away, then they usually prefer to play physically. So yeah, I don't really have like a IRL group, and currently don't really have access to one. But, you know, I'm glad that I've been able to have the Hunter the Reckoning with the Ghost and the rest of the peeps on her channel and do that instead. It's been really fun, because I know I enjoyed it. And oh boy, if you would see our Discord of that campaign and all of the fucking in-character text shenanigans that we send each other, like it's wild. Yeah, I don't tell you, tables get together are difficult. Yeah, that's also another thing. Scheduling can also be an issue. We've encountered that, but more than anything on our end, more than anything, the issue was somebody to run consistently. Because on my side, I initially planned. I've had one for like my works for my old work, like for the game dev studio that I worked at. I was as kind of like a, you know, out of you know, after office hours kind of thing, like, hey, let's do like a D&D campaign and let's play around, kind of like, you know, team building kind of thing, whatever. And also a great excuse for me to run some D&D. But it didn't stay for too long, it's because things got stressful for me at work, which led to me leaving that place, to resigning. So yeah, that's a weird factor. Equally, you know, I've had other stuff in the past because of that, and I wasn't able to keep consistent of running it myself, and other people that I've, you know, were also in my group weren't able to, like, you know, take the helm either. Like, everybody had at the very least time to participate in a game. Nobody really had the time to invest into actually running one. So yeah, basically everybody could have been a player, but nobody really was able to invest in being a game master. That was kind of it. And I've had the suggestions of, hey, maybe we should try a different system, maybe something that's a bit more light, something a bit more approachable. But I've encountered the argument with some of the group, not everybody, some of that group that they don't want to learn a new system. I'm like, you've done it once. And I've at a time where all of us were beginners, like nobody knew what the system, how the system was about. Nobody knew how to run D&D or how to play D&D when I did it as the first time GM, because this is like the first, because I'm talking about people that I've had since my first ever group where I've DM'd, and some of them said like, yeah, they don't want to learn like a different system. I mean, you did it once. If you pick something that's a lot more approachable, it wouldn't be that hard for you to do it again. And again, I'm gonna have the same sensibilities I had then. I'm not gonna ask you to know things beforehand. But yeah, anyhow, it is what it is. If you cannot convince them, I'm not gonna force them, because we are here to have a fun time, not to feel like it's work or something like that. But yeah. So going back, because I kind of ranted a bit. Yeah, I'll see about it, because I'm interested in it. The more I've looked into Daggerheart and all of that, I find it really interesting. I find it quite an approachable system overall. Like even for beginners, I would see like the system being like a good starting point for some of them, because it's equally mechanical, it's equally free-flowing, open like roleplay aspects. So it kind of has, it's a good in-between, and it has some really well built-in concepts of, you know, this, because this is a role-playing game, you should also concentrate on aspects that are connected to you actually telling a story or something, or having a, you know, a character, not just simply, oh, I'm mechanically a warlock paladin or something like that because I want to achieve these kinds of abilities in a mechanical sense. Yeah, because the system itself offers you like basically kind of like a question list that you can equally, some of it that are offered for your backstory, some of them that are offered to create relationships with the other players in the group. So you can also have some characterization built in already. So in a way, everybody knows somebody from the group from the start. Nobody is basically, you don't get necessarily into the issue of, you know, we have this adventure party created, but nobody knows each other, and there's no like built-in relationship or like any or there's no way this these characters were fought on with the possibility that they will get along. Although, to be fair, you can work on it and think on some aspects here and there where you can not necessarily be fully on par with everybody on the party. You can also do the you know, the storytelling aspect of having characters that are foils to other characters and that kind of a thing. Again, an example that I offer in our Hunter the Reckoning sessions, Damien and Ambrose are really they have a lot in common, both of them as characters, but equally they are opposed. They are kind of at opposite sides. And in a way, Damien is a foil to Ambrose, and I feel like Ambrose could be also a foil to Damien in some ways. So yeah, that's something that, even though we didn't fully plan with to go with it from the very beginning, it was slightly nudged and slightly discussed as we were creating our characters for the first session, for our session 0, and we kind of went with it and kind of experimented and you know, went along, kind of improved our way there and realized that, oh, there's actually something here that could be really interesting. So let's check it out. Let's see where this dynamic goes. And yeah, again, if you all could see the in-character text we send to each other on our Discords, we get into some discussions. At the very least, Damien and Ambrose. Oh boy. We get into some discussions. I've talked with some of the group, and I feel like we should maybe do something related or some way to kind of showcase some of those kind of behind the sessions kind of aspects of our characters that happen. One of the things that I thought about maybe doing kind of like a, not necessarily like a Q&A, but maybe kind of like a discussion stream or something of the sorts, where you can have those kinds of like open chats, but it's not necessarily a session. It's just us having some open discussions about our characters, and who knows, those who are present on the stream may even ask character questions and that kind of thing, like if they want to know more about their own about the players and their characters. And you know, equally to the game master. Yes, I've talked that with Ghost. The thing is, it's probably something that maybe one of us will take the mantle for it instead of her, as you know, she's already doing some stuff with the stream and that kind of thing. And again, it's equally kind of a schedule thing that we have to figure out and how we do it. If we do it like everybody together, or if we maybe split it from time to time, like in one stream it's a few people, in another stream it's another set of people. So you know, we're not necessarily everybody's 100% present on the stream, because you know, we already kind of went to decisions to figure out at the very least to have a set-in date for everybody to be present for the sessions. It's probably gonna be difficult to also have it for this kind of discussion streams. So maybe we're just gonna have like, I don't know, like occasional guests, so like kind of like quote-unquote guest appearances, but more than necessarily guest appearances. Just maybe one stream is gonna be X people, the next stream is gonna be Y people. We'll see. I thought about it. I might do it. I might do those streams myself. I'm still thinking on the logistics and how exactly to approach it. I have an idea, a vague idea on how to kind of do those streams, which would feel a bit thematic, but we'll have to see, because I have some other stuff behind the scenes that I still want to finish, because I've pushed some stuff back on my backlog. So yeah, I'll have to figure them out. But yeah, to be fair, we've talked about it, and a lot of the group is on board, and they would like to have those kind of discussions, because of course, like everybody else we love to nerd about our characters, and to nerd about TTRPGs in general. So of course we'd love to have these kinds of discussions. It's just, you know, a thing to kind of figure out the logistics and find the time to do it. Maybe it could be a monthly thing instead of, so it's not necessarily as high commitment. That could work, now that I'm thinking about it. Huh. Yeah, because it also adds a few sessions, because that's basically, you know, because it also kind of piles up with some sessions, and you know, if people have questions about it, you know, they could also ask things that, you know, start to develop as the sessions go. So you know, having a few more sessions kind of behind us for each of these kind of streams would be better. So you know, we don't necessarily jump into too many repeating questions, or at the very least people don't necessarily feel like they have anything else to ask. That could work, actually. Yeah, I have to think on the logistics of that. Again, as I mentioned, I'll figure it out. But yeah, jumping back into the video. So,
and by a number of hit points, which you'll find on your character sheet in the form of several blank boxes. When you're faced with incoming damage, you will fill in or mark a certain number of these hit points based on your character's damage thresholds. So if you take minor damage, you mark 1 hit point. For major damage, you mark 2 hit points.
I'm okay,
and for severe damage, you mark 3 hit points.
Whenever you take damage, you simply compare that damage amount to your character.
As I mentioned, this stream is an open platform to discuss about TTRPGs in general. So you know, if I take a pause and from whatever topic I have, it's fine. It doesn't bother me. We can just have our discussion instead, because that's kind of what I want to highlight more than anything. Especially because in this section, it's just a repeating section that I'm doing every stream, just kind of as an entryway.
Character's damage thresholds, and mark your hit points accordingly. For example, if a rogue at level 1 has 15 damage coming at them, that would be just over their severe damage threshold. So they would mark 3 hit points.
If you ever take damage below your minor damage threshold, you take a stress instead of damage. Now, stress is also a resource that your character can endure to carry out certain uncanny feats or class abilities. But you gotta be careful. If you should ever need to mark a stress, but you can't because they're all marked, you mark a hit point instead.
Evasion represents your ability to avoid being hit by an attack. So when the GM makes an attack roll against a player, they roll 1d20. They add any modifiers and see if the result meets or beats this number. If the attack hits a player, the player can choose to mark armor slots to reduce the incoming damage by their armor score.
For example, let's go back to our level 1 rogue that has 15 damage coming at them. If they have an armor score of 3, like if they have leather armor, they could choose to mark one of their armor slots and reduce that damage to 12, downgrading that severe damage into just major damage. This means they mark 2 hit points instead of 3.
They can always choose to mark more than one armor slot if they need to reduce the damage by more as well. And you can, of course, get those armor slots back, but you have to do it by repairing your armor during downtime. We'll cover that in just a little bit.
Now let's go ahead and talk about Game Master stuff. So, setting appropriate difficulty values for your players is a time-honored tradition for many game masters. And when it comes to Daggerheart, a general good rubric to follow when setting difficulty values is a range of 5 being very easy, like extremely easy, up to 15 being your standard average difficulty, all the way up to 30 and more being nearly impossible.
You should also be aware of the circumstances surrounding action rolls because they may grant advantage or disadvantage. For example, maybe you're attempting to lift a broken carriage out of a muddy ditch in the pouring rain. And if that's the case, the GM may impose disadvantage on the strength roll to do that. This situational modifier is represented by including 1d6 with the action roll. With advantage, you add the sum of the d6 to the roll. If you have disadvantage, you subtract the value from the roll instead. Always remember that at any time, a player can give another player advantage on an action roll by spending 1 hope and describing how they're aiding their ally.
Now let's talk a little bit about how combat works. Well, combat in Daggerheart is designed to be a free-flowing narrative experience with minimal stop-downs and a multitude of possibilities for theater of the mind and map-based conflict.
When you want to make an attack, you'll first ask the GM if it's in range of your weapon. So melee range means that you're within touching distance of the target. Very close is anywhere from like 5 to 10 feet away, or the shortest length of a game card when measured on a map. Close is between 10 and 30 feet, or about the length of a standard pen or pencil. Far is between 30 and 100 feet, or the length of a standard piece of paper. And very far is between 100 and 300 feet, or anything beyond the length of a piece of paper that's within the scene.
If it is in range, make an action roll and add any relevant modifiers. If the roll meets or beats that creature's individual difficulty score, it hits. Now simply roll your damage dice and add their values together.
Creatures also have minor, major, and severe damage thresholds, just like player characters, and a variable amount of hit points and stress, but they don't have armor or evasion scores like player characters.
Now for you GMs out there, if you're rolling to see if a creature hits a player character, you simply roll a d20, add the relevant modifiers from that monster's sheet, and see if it hits that player's evasion score. If it hits, roll for damage and the player determines if they'll spend armor slots to reduce it or how many hit points they have to mark thereafter.
Now, if your players are entering into a combat that will last for more than 1 or 2 turns, your GM may place an action tracker on the table. When an action tracker is out, players add a token to it whenever they make an action roll. Players will continue to make action rolls in combat until they fail and/or roll with fear, which then allows the focus to shift to the GM to make what's called a GM move.
Now, a GM move is literally just the GM taking a turn. So after a player rolls with fear and/or fails an attack roll, the GM then has the opportunity to spend any number of action tokens from the tracker and activate that many enemy combatants. So all those turns the players took in succession now have turned into resources for me. After the GM turn is resolved, play then passes back to the players.
Anytime, GMs can also spend 2 action tokens to gain 1 fear token. Remember those? How every time your player characters roll with fear, the GM collects a fear token? Well, here's how they factor in. At any point during combat, a GM can spend 2 of the fear tokens accrued during a session to make a GM move without needing the players to roll a failure or with fear.
Additionally, GMs can spend fear tokens to activate special abilities of adversaries, or generate action tokens for themselves, or make particularly big and dramatic GM moves.
If things go really bad in or out of combat, character death in Daggerheart is a real possibility, but the system offers players 3 options to choose from when the character marks their final hit point.
The first option is called Blaze of Glory. This option lets your character, you guessed it, die in a glorious and heroic fashion, where they take 1 final action that will be an automatic critical success before passing into the great beyond.
Then there's the ever-popular Avoid Death and Face the Consequences, where your character drops unconscious and cannot take any actions until they get at least 1 hit point back. When this happens, you roll your fear die, and if it's equal to or under your level, you gain a scar, which means you permanently cross out 1 of your hope slots.
And finally, there's Risk It All, our personal favorite, I believe, which leaves it all up to chance. You roll your duality dice. If your hope die is higher, you stay on your feet and clear an amount of hit points and/or stress equal to the value you roll on your hope die. But if your fear die is higher, you immediately cross through the veil of death. Now, if the duality dice are tied, which once again is a critical success in Daggerheart. You don't just stay on your feet, you also clear all of your hit points and stress, renewed and ready to go right back into it.
Now that we've covered all the stuff you can do in combat, let's touch on some of the stuff you can do during your downtime.
Yeah, kind of as a quick break and kind of returning back to what I mentioned a bit previously. I mean, aside, well, actually, quick appreciation note. Every time I get through this point, I would like to say that I really love the kind of makeshift concept of making kind of approach of how to handle range, which kind of, you know, embraces that idea that usually most ttrpgs are kind of makeshift, and everybody basically figures things out depending on what they have on hand. So I really like that. It's a really neat way of doing it, which kind of plays into their like flowing kind of aspects and concepts, but equally this side of it with the action tracker and the how kind of they approach combat, as it kind of plays into this what I like to call, in what's somewhat known in the video game side of the industry as dynamic difficulty. It's basically a way where depending on how well a player performs, that's how well the enemy will perform. So it's a great way of figuring out how to balance an encounter, or at the very least how a game can basically balance itself out, just part of how it's built in. So yeah, here, you know, if the party performs really well and does a ton of actions before, you know, the game master can start their turn, that will mean that, you know, on the game master turns, that's how you'll also trigger a lot of enemy actions and maybe some additional stuff depending on how many enemies are there. You may trigger environmental elements, you might trigger some special abilities, especially with like the fear token and all that kind of things. And equally, you know, if you have a turn where, you know, the players are performing badly, equally the game master will not respond as harsh in return. But at the same time, the game master has the ability to you know, make that change themselves. And, you know, if they feel like they need to push on a bit the envelope a bit and, you know, add a bit more challenge, add a bit more risk, they can just utilize their fear resource to add more actions, to add additional abilities to the field, and that, or trigger certain abilities onto the field. So it's a great built-in tool for figuring out how to balance things, how to balance in the moment. And, you know, I also like this aspect of, you know, death is a concept that it's basically a system that every player can approach however they prefer. You know, Blaze of Glory is a great method to, if you feel like your character kind of has reached their arc, has kind of concluded themselves, or reached at the end of their arc, and this feels like an appropriate way to kind of send them off, you can choose that. Or in equally, maybe you no longer feel as attached to your character, or no longer necessarily feel interested in playing this character, and if you feel like this is fitting for the character, this is a great method to do it as well, to basically have this kind of chat with the game master and be like, hey, I kind of wanted to detach myself from this character, but I feel like them dying in a moment of battle is it the character's like best way to be kind of sent off. So that's something you can also talk with the game master and figure out behind the scenes. The avoid they face consequences, I like that. Yes, it's the safe option, but it's still built with some built-in risk. It's not mentioned in the video, but, you know, the hope slots are a limit. You have them in a limited amount per character. I think you can increase them by a few times when you level up or something like that, but that's basically, you have like a set amount. Once you're out of hope slots, your character by mechanics is required to retire. It's not that the character isn't dead, but they retire. They basically no longer are capable to adventure, as hope is a great it's a really important resource for a player character to use their abilities, either connected to their ancestry, their class, their community, whatever else they have available, or maybe some kind of magic items. So losing hope, which, you know, kind of intentionally named as so, means that the character can no longer perform as an adventurer, and they need to retire, which is a kind of more of a poetic death. And yes, risk it all is basically for anybody who likes to let fate up to the dice and just see what happens and embrace the chaos, which I also appreciate that. And I like that these are options that are constantly available. It's not like a choice that it's made beforehand by the game master or the group, or in being like, hey, in this campaign only this death option is available. Again, yes, you could discuss it and homebrew it yourself, but as per the normal rules, all of them are available, and it's up to the player's choice in the moment to choose which one they think fits best.
When you take a short rest in Daggerheart, you can spend about an hour doing 2 of the following options.
You can tend to your wounds or another player's wounds, clearing 1d4 hit points. You can blow off some steam and clear 1d4 of your stress. You can spend time mending your armor or another person's armor and clear 2 marked armor slots. Or you can simply spend the time preparing yourself for the path ahead and gain a hope.
If you're able to make camp and relax for a few hours, you can take a long rest and choose 2 of the following. Clear all marked hit points, clear all marked stress, fully mend your armor, clearing all marked armor slots, or do this on an ally. You can prepare and gain 1 hope, or you can choose to prepare with 1 or more members of your party and instead take 2 hope each. Lastly, you can work on a project. It takes a substantial amount of time, like deciphering an ancient codex or crafting a new weapon. The GM will assign this project a countdown, and each time you work on this project, you tick down that countdown until the project is complete.
Now, when you're at level 5 or above, during a long or short rest, you can swap domain cards in your loadout with any domain cards in your vault. This is useful because you can only have 5 domain cards in your loadout at a time, but you really don't have to worry about that until higher levels anyway. I think that's it.
I think that's all.
I think that wraps up our...
Yeah, this wraps it up. Just a quick note. Yes, I really like how they approach like the long rest and the replenishment of resources. First of all, because it's not something that you can instantly gain all of your resources back. Some, to an depending on how kind of, you know, grueling and kind of and how much you've kind of been put to work with certain scenarios. Even a long rest may not necessarily replenish you all of your resources, which, you know, kind of pushes into that kind of idea that, like, for example, in certain dangerous scenarios, like maybe you're resting in a dungeon or something like that, it kind of adds that implication of this is a risky place. You can't really have a fully true rest where you can have anything, all of it back to 100%. And aside from that, I also like that some of the options for replenishing certain resources are also kind of a collaborative. I offer you like this kind of collaborative side of it, like, you know, mending armor can be something that you can also offer to other characters, as well as the prepare option, where you can basically generate hope with other members of the party, if not even the entire party, depending. And as well as, you know, they also give you like a good guideline in how to approach long-term projects and you know, things that, you know, players want to achieve that can't be necessarily achieved through one simple role done at a time, and it's something that could take time and effort. But anyhow, that kind of covers the general gist of how Daggerheart kind of works. Yes, overall it's free-flowing. It's easier kind of from combat and roleplay stuff, roleplay elements. Some aspects of it I could associate it with Blades in the Dark, specifically the idea of rolling with fear. Basically, that's kind of how the consequences work. It's kind of in the vein of, okay, you succeed your roll, but something else changes in the scene that kind of makes you rethink your plan, but not necessarily invalidates whatever you've achieved. But that's you know, kind of, besides of it, I've kind of had these discussions beforehand, which of course, if you want to see, I think also some of them are still on my Twitch page as VODs. If not, you can find them on my VODs channel on YouTube, where I have all of the Daggerheart stuff on a playlist there, and you can check some other past topics that I've discussed. But yeah, for this topic, and I think this will probably be the stream that will conclude for a while, Daggerheart, because I've discussed about this game system for a long time, and I feel like I'm kind of stretching it at this point, and certain things that certain chapters that are covered here in some way or another. Maybe I've already mentioned some things in other streams, so I don't want to necessarily extend it more than it feels like it's necessary. So I'm gonna look through the running a campaign chapter. I'm gonna read through it, kind of offer my own perspective of it, if there is still some time on the stream that is, you know, up until my minimum plan, because, you know, with these streams I plan to at the very least stream for like 4 hours. With the ttrpg streams, I'm also focused on the idea that I want to finish the topic that I've planned. So if that means that I need to extend, I'm gonna extend. But if I've not reached at the very least the planned amount of time that I wanted to stream, I might also look into some of the other remaining chapters, just kind of have like a quick look over, have some quick discussions there. And from after that, I think I'm gonna conclude the Daggerheart chapter for a while, maybe until like we are gonna have any new like version updates or anything like of that sort, or if some of the chapters are gonna get a few more content, because there are some chapters here and there that I would like to cover, but I would like to cover once they have more content. For example, the customizing your game, that's in a chapter that I would like to look at, but it's currently incomplete. It has some things there that I could already discuss, but I would like to discuss them once the entire chapter has all of their topics present. Because I think currently it's only talking about like how to change certain difficulties or certain aspects of the adversaries, which are basically the creature stat blocks. And those kind of... It doesn't go fully into the discussion of fully customized, because it even mentions elements like homebrew, but it hasn't yet gone into details in how exactly to talk about homebrew. And I would like to have that kind of a stream where we discuss about, you know, customizing your game, homebrewing when you need to homebrew and all that kind of things. Because I also homebrew myself when it comes on TTRPGs. I've homebrewed here and there on D&D Beyond, on D&D equally, because I've had this discussion with Ghost, with the Hunter, with specifically not Hunter, with specifically Vampire the Masquerade. I'm not really I'm not really on board with one of the clans and the organizations that Vampire has, specifically for a bloodline. It's technically a bloodline in all but the name. It's basically, you know, it's a bloodline in name, but that's kind of it, because it's technically not a bloodline. I don't like how the Zemishi old clan is conceptualized, considering that it's a very local when it comes to like a vampire clan, and the Zemishis in general are very local. So for someone out here who's an East European and a vampire VTuber, I'm like, I want some representation done right, so I'm gonna fucking do it myself if that needs to be done. So yeah, which also means that if I will ever run into if Ghost will ever run a Vampire the Masquerade campaign, and I'm gonna be present there as a player, you're gonna bet your ass I'm gonna be a proper East European vampire with that homebrew. But yeah, that's kind of besides the point. And after that, we'll see. I think from next week, at the very least for next week, maybe I'll jump into kind of something a bit more kind of a break before I decide what other TTRPG I would like to cover. Maybe I'll jump into something D&D related next stream. I might go back into do something like homebrew stuff, because the homebrew like D&D stream that I've done last time went interestingly, and I've kind of liked how it went, so I might try it again and do it a bit differently this time, because I felt like I have like an idea. I'm kind of inspiring myself through how one of my other like stream friends have done their like art streams, for example, and I might do something similar where, you know, players can offer their input and basically homebrew something that someone from chat or someone or a follower of mine has suggested, something of that sense. And then after that, I'll probably, from after that stream for the following weeks, I'll probably look into a different system to cover, and maybe I'm gonna change a bit of the format, and maybe I'll do something different instead of just me going through the book or going through the compendiums, and maybe summarize it a bit more, so I'm not extending myself for too many streams on a singular topic. Or not necessarily a singular topic, on a singular system. Because there are other systems that I want to learn. I want to, you know, personally, I already kind of jumped slowly into the World of Darkness and some stuff there, but I also want to look into other stuff like the Cyberpunk Red, Pathfinder is another one. I might jump, Pathfinder might be one of the ones that I might jump to, but I'll have to see. There's another one that I have it here that I bought it a while ago, but I have not had a chance to look at it or actually play it. I have the Borderlands Bunkers and Badasses book, and from what I've heard, there's some additional content in the works by Nirvana Games, so they might do some expanded work on that system, which I'm kind of excited because I would like to see more of that. I was kind of sad. I'm kind of glad because initially I was for a second there I kind of suspected that this was kind of a one and done kind of deals where, you know, Gearbox maybe, you know, license their IP to market themselves their Wonderlands game and all of that kind of thing, and not necessarily expand on that system, which I would have been really quite a shame because I really like, from what I've seen of it and what I've read of it, it's mostly a D20 system, so for anybody familiar with D&D, it's not that far away from that, so that's you know, a good jumping off point for anybody in that circle with the 5th edition or like Pathfinder. They might know how to play this system as well. It also, even though it's created around the fantasy, the in-game, in-lore actual Bunkers and Badasses game and the fantasy of the Wonderlands, the system itself could be adapted slightly more in thematics than anything else to actually be a full-on Borderlands ttrpg where you play in the actual Borderlands world, in Pandora, and the rest of the other planets and systems, and be a proper like Vol Hunter. It has that potential because to be fair, the characters in the Bunkers and Badasses DLCs were the Vol Hunters, which, you know, as mechanically speaking, were the Vol Hunters. So of course the books themselves, they give you like rules and mechanics into how to be one of the Vol Hunters as a character. Yeah, I'm excited to see what exactly they're gonna add on that side of it and what additional content for that. Because they've also released like for free, they've done like for all of the owners of the books or PDFs, they've also released, they've also sent us, like I think a few months ago, they've sent us like an additional adventure that you can run for free, which I was like really surprised. I'm glad that they did that. It kind of shows good faith, and it shows that, you know, they are interested in expanding the system and in doing more about it. Because there are things, because to be fair, even from the start of it, I've looked at some aspects of that system and I thought like I might change some things just to make it feel more like Borderlands, because to an extent it didn't feel too like there are certain aspects of the Borderlands game that I thought were not necessarily present, and I would have liked to change them. So yeah, I already have some homebrews ideas for that system already. And I haven't even yet played it. But yeah, rant aside, I might jump into that, although I need to figure out how exactly to showcase all of that content, because the PDFs have some information that I don't want to show, and being able to edit them, it's a bit of a pain because Adobe is a fucking jackass and I'm not gonna pay a sub for Adobe when it comes to editing PDFs, so I'll have to see what exactly I can do about that. But yeah, maybe Bunkers and Badasses could be the next system that I'm looking at, because I would like to look at that system. If not, maybe I'll do something else, at a different one, because there are many that I want to check out. But again, anyhow, I'm just ranting at this point, so let's go into the actual chapter, which is running a campaign. You've got your players, you've made your characters, and maybe you've even played a session to get a feel for the game. What's next? Most tables will start with a campaign, a series of connected sessions, often played weekly or monthly, that let everyone explore their character stories over an extended period of time. When you decide to start a campaign together, you can kickstart your adventure using the guidance in this sections, along with the inspiration presented in creating your world. Which, yeah, I looked a bit at that chapter. It's mostly discussing how to do some world building, or so creating some aspects, and gives you some examples of some already built-in stuff, which I'm not sure if I am going to cover too much, because that's not necessarily a subject that I'm too in the know myself, or because it's about, you know, some world stuff that they've built themselves to kind of give you as a starting point. It's mostly, more than anything, it's mostly kind of examples than to a lot of guidelines. Many traditional campaigns will give the game master a predefined storyline to guide the players through, giving options for different outcomes and letting the characters decide what path to take. Though this can make prepping a session for the party easier, it can often inhibit player freedom, require significant buy-in by the party around the events they are not personally tied to. And keep the story from evolving organically. In Daggerheart, campaigns are intended to work a little different. They should be personal, focused, and responsive. Nothing should be planned until after the character creation is complete, and the details players provide about these characters will be the primary scaffolding upon which you'll plan the rest of the campaign. This means you'll often be prepping just the material you need week after week, letting the story evolve naturally through the play at the table. The chapter 5 provides some guidance and tools into help make this process easier. If you're an experienced game master, you may have your own methods of campaign prep that you use for other games. As always, feel free to utilize the pieces for this book that help you ignore the pieces that don't. Okay, so from what I've seen, from my own understanding, overall Daggerheart, which it's kind of showed itself through their character creation system, that it's focused and built around the idea that characters have from the get-go tie-ins either with the other players in the group or with certain aspects of the in-game world or the world itself that the characters are a part of. So that's kind of a focus, which could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. The thing that I see maybe a bad thing is that it really depends on how your group works. Because yes, you kind of have to bank on the idea that everybody's gonna make their character before you prep anything beforehand, and kind of push that idea that you need something prepped already, and have later on with the buy-in. Although I'm really curious because they do have a adventure module, so I'm really curious. But that's something I'm gonna look at, not on the streams, because I want to keep some aspects of the game, to be discovered by anyone who wants to play it, especially the campaigns, the module stuff, because some people might be players here and I don't want to spoil anything. But that does mean that probably the modules themselves are a bit more open-ended, because yes, one of the biggest, sometimes the biggest problem with most adventure modules is the actual player buy-in and the when it comes to certain events in certain locations. Of course, this is also up to the kind of player's responsibility to create characters that would feel invested into a pre-made module, anything like that. Also, hi there, Ghost. How's it going? Hope you're feeling better. If not, at the very least, I hope you're taking a well-deserved rest. One of the other. And also let me give you a shout out. Yeah, open-ended Ghost Brewer. I mean, best out of everybody, because I think we are just waking up from that. That's good, because I think you're not best when it comes to open-ended, because I think we've derailed a lot with the hunter stuff, but it's fine. We'll figure it out somehow. Who knows, maybe next session we're gonna go to the actual fucking restaurant and the club that we said we are gonna go since session 1 or session 2, I think. I like sample style games as I'm a big open on player choice. Yeah, I enjoy them as well, but I can understand how they can sometimes be daunting, especially for beginners, because I've had not like necessarily a game master experience, but more as a player in the group with a game master, because I've been a player in a Curse of Strahd campaign. And for those who do not know Curse of Strahd in D&D, it's more of a sandbox pre-made module, and because it's a sandbox, a lot of events or a lot of pre-made events basically trigger depending on what the players do. And if the players ignore elements and just waltz from city to city and triggering basically every timer and every event without ever addressing them, it becomes a bit of a monumental task. And also, every session there's always that question mark of where the fuck will my players go. And Curse of Strahd is one of those games where if the players quickly derail, they're gonna get quickly clapped back, because it's a system that it's a module that quickly shows you that if you fuck around, you'll find out, because you're gonna deal with some really big bads. Like, I think we've had so many close encounters in the Curse of Strahd in our Curse of Strahd sessions. I'm surprised even to this day, because I played a Blood Hunter, which is a homebrew subclass that it's literally its concept of the class is self-harm and basically removing hit points to do better in other aspects, to basically have better attacks, better abilities, that kind of a thing. So I was already removing vitality from my own character, and somehow that character still fucking survived. Yeah, I'm personally glad that you fuckers have been finding out your own story as time. I mean, yeah. Although, fine, I'm gonna hint it here, because why not? The fact that Damien kind of officially became a wingman is something that I instantly jumped on. Initially I was like, oh, that's an unexpected result that happened kind of out of session during the downtime. And then I gave it some thought. Fuck it, I'm going full in. I'm gonna be the unofficial official wingman. From this point on. Damn it, I might not ship it, but at the very least I'll support it. So yeah, that's been amazing. I mean, it's yeah, that's kind of the fun with some sandbox style, but even the pre-made sandbox kind of have this issue, because Curse of Strahd has this kind of issue that I've discussed with the I think with the game master and the players. The way that the system is built, it gives you some options in how exactly you get into Barovia and you get into the Shadowfell, but none of them give you any buy-in and reasoning and why exactly you would be interested in anything that happens in Barovia, outside of this simple exception of I want to get out of here, and the only way to get out of here is to get to Strahd. So yeah, from the very beginning, because to be fair, that's how I always think about my characters. I think them in some way that they would be invested, or in some aspects have some interest in whatever the pre-made system or the pre-made module might have done, or in some cases whatever the game master has offered to me as kind of a starting guide. Because to be fair, even Damien, even though yes, it's a sandbox game and mostly up to our own decision and up to our own events, even though Damien is dealing with his own issues and his own things when it comes to figuring out this new world that has been opened to him, and it's still a hard time accepting it and seeing it for what it actually is. He is built around the idea that even though he might not fully understand it and fully be on board, fully accept what it is, what he's been given is something he definitely benefits out of it, and it definitely kind of pushes him forward and encourages him to achieve his goals, which are quite in line with what some hunters might be interested in doing, or what some hunters might do in their own activities. So yeah, for me, Damien was already from the very beginning kind of built around this idea that somehow, in some way or another, he would be on board with what a hunter is, whatever that perspective of that specific creed of hunter would be. In his case, being the visionary. Because yes, he may not necessarily understand his powers as a visionary and fully grasp them, but he realizes that these are tools that allow him now to pursue his interests and pursue his goals further, and to actually finally kind of look beyond the veil and see the things that they have for what they truly are. Up until then, basically, because up until that point he kind of struggled, and he kind of always in some ways or another felt like he either hit a dead end or hit some point where nothing conclusive or something just simply went out cold, which again quite in line with the World of Darkness, as most of the information that would and any normal day-to-day individual will find is not as close to reality as most every every supernatural creature in that world is really careful about their secrets. Even though we've started to kind of push on a trend of, yeah, how about we reveal those secrets a bit more and just create more problems and put people in issues and, you know, and make ourselves some targets for some other people, because yeah, why not? Everything's gonna be fine because of it. Look, man, Damien went to the feds out of desperation, not because he wanted to be with the feds, okay? He needed to have a backup. He now needs a backup for the backup. And I hope that I don't have to make a backup for the backup of the backup. This then it's gonna get really crazy and I'm gonna probably lose my mind. But yes, anyhow. Building a map. At the start of a campaign, one of the most important questions to answer is, where are we? To do this, you'll choose one of the maps section pending or create your own. Okay, so I'm guessing, oh, that's actually kind of neat if they're gonna offer you some maps. And print a copy at your table. Digital copies of these maps are available, okay? Each representation of the world you'll be focusing on at the beginning of your campaign. Okay, so I'm understanding this is more like discussing about their actual built-in thing. If you know at character creation that you'll be running a campaign, you can bring the map you've chosen to fill it out during session 0. Otherwise, you may also just want to introduce it at the top of your next session to integrate it in your game moving forward. To start, place the map on the table and explain to the players that you'll be using it to build the region you're all playing in together. First, you'll choose the name of the regions for the options available, or you make your own. Write the name on the appropriate sheet. Sorry. Once this is done, take a minute to remind the table about any locations. Okay, so basically it's kind of a guideline. I'm guessing they're gonna offer you some kind of map templates that you can create your own regions, which is really neat. Once all pre-existing locations have been added, take the map back from the players and choose one of the few locations and pick the bottom list. Then describe this place for the rest of the table. What is it? Why is it called this? What makes it so significant? Then pass the mass to the map. Fuck. Words. For some reason I cannot read today. To the player on your left and ask them to do the same. Encourage them to tie in their characters' backstories or history with this place if they wish. As they tell the table about the locations they've chosen, record any important information about it in your notes. The sheet should continue around the table until it feels like the map is populated with enough exciting locations, plot hooks for your work. With 4 players, twice around the table is usually enough. Remember, you can always do this again at the start of another session to fill out the map further, or even introduce a new region that connects to the current one. After all the table feels happy with the details they've added, take the map back and make a choice about where the players currently are in their adventure. Maybe it's somewhere the players have already added, or maybe it's a new place you draw in. Whatever the case may be, this will help you as a game master orient yourself for their adventure moving forward. Okay, this is kind of a neat guideline of how to kind of in session and in the moment kind of improv and build the world on the spot, which, you know, for anybody who's, you know, for, you know, minimal prep for game masters that are looking for ways to minimize their prep and limit how much they have to do beforehand. This is an interesting method, and one that I'm not sure if I've heard about or seen people do. Of course, I'm not gonna necessarily go jump into the idea of how exactly you should approach it. This is an interesting option. Of course, there is also the classic of making themselves beforehand, or at the very least start with some kind of relevant starting location that it feels up to you, or, you know, depending on what kind of game you're running or what type of setting you're running. I mean, again, I'm giving the best example, current example with World of Darkness. It's the real world. What map do you need? It's the map that you need is Google Maps. That's literally it. because that's where you are on the planet, on the globe, so you don't really have to figure it out. And especially if you're running it, you know, in contemporary days, you know, on the, or how the Board of Darkness series calls it, like the modern nights. You just already have that all set up. Of course, it might be a bit more wonky if you want to do it like Dark Ages or something like in History Past, because it might necessarily reflect the current day. But hey, you have, even in those situations, you still have a starting point here and there. And again, you still have the magic of the internet. You could find old maps of the world and use them as reference. So yeah. But yeah, if you want the minimal prep or enjoy you know, urban fantasies or aspects of that kind of or you know, some kind of alternate history type sessions, it's really the easiest option you can do. You just take the real, you know, the actual real world map and use it as your own. Otherwise, you know, it's the option of choose settings that you like or that you enjoy and use that as a reference, or use that as a basis, if not necessarily as a reference, or play within that setting if in some way or another you can theme around everything that you have part of the system. Like, hey, maybe for you, even though technically Lord of the Rings would be a low magic system, but if you feel like this could be somewhat easily or reasonably adapted, hey, maybe if you like Lord of the Rings, just take the maps from Lord of the Rings and use whatever game system you're using. Although there is a few actual existing systems. There is a One Ring, and I think there was another one that I'm missing, because I think like there were like 2 of them. But again, I digress. Other stuff like similar like that, use game maps. It's fucking, especially if you're like running. Again, I mentioned the Bunkers and Badasses. Fuck's sake, like if you are running a Bunkers and Badasses game, you have the video games, the Borderlands video games. If you are running it in the actual world and setting of Borderlands, use those. They are there. There is even like a website. I forgot the name of it. Because there is a UI type website that kind of showcases all of the UI elements of the game. So you can actually, I think you can find all of the maps, or I'm pretty sure there is some kind of interactive maps online that you can find and get the maps from there for most of the games. So yeah, you can also do that. You can find ways to, you know, adapt to, or you know, simply just look online, find some template maps, some base maps, and just simply adjust them if you feel like you don't want to full on customize your own. Nobody's asking you if you do not want it, and if you don't want to do it, to do everything from scratch. Even if you're doing a custom campaign and not something pre-made. Filling space, leaving blanks. As part of the prep for your next session, you'll want to review the map your table built together. Think about the way the locations your players created might affect the region, and add anything you think might be important or relevant to the sheet. For example, if someone labeled a spot with the healing fields, you might consider adding a town nearby that specializes in creating health potions or curing ailments, or a mage tower that overlooks the fields to protect them. Pay special attention to the area where your players currently are in their journey and where they might consider going next. It's also important to leave blanks. Don't feel the need to fill everything, and don't worry about planning out what every labeled marked or town is like. Leaving some things vague gives you the freedom to adapt them on the fly, and also reduces the amount of world building work you have to do for places your players may never visit. Yeah, when it comes to world building, usually the easiest option is think on the macro scale and then kind of slowly filter it down, go down the chain. Because usually once you have the big things somewhat figured out, you know, in time the logistics of the smaller things kind of slowly play out. And of course, collaborating with the players, allow them to add their own elements of their own world building and things like that. It can help you a lot and make some efforts a lot easier. And also another thing that you can do, like kind of a trick, if you're in a group that likes to also utilize downtime often, if you want to get like an idea and where exactly the interest might be for the players for the next sessions, downtime is the best method, because by doing their downtime, you usually kind of start getting a hint of what exactly is their interest, what exactly they might be looking into. And depending on that, those kind of aspects, you can already slowly build it up and figure out like, okay, if this character is interested in some kind of forging or some kind of aspects of that, so maybe I should build. So I already have this idea of maybe some town or some faction or something along those lines that are focused about that kind of blacksmithy or that kind of aspects of the games of that character. So I'm gonna build that one up and maybe add some clues for next session, so to kind of cue them in their own interest. Another one that I'm actually gonna give you, which actually happened in the Hunter stuff. Damien currently for his downtime is working some tech stuff and doing some tinkering with some tech, and basically right now, and I was given as information for one of my downtime activities, literally, hey, you might look into the feds or some higher organizations. They might know some technological aspects that could help you, or might have access to some technology that could help you understand it better, whatever you're trying to tinkering at. And guess what happened next session? I made a deal with the feds, and I'm sure it's gonna go fine. Nothing's bad ever gonna happen. There's a talking ferret that nobody's gonna. To be fair, if anybody's gonna believe me, it's gonna be the cell. If I ever mention the talking ferret. Although I feel like Samson would play it out like I'm some fucking loon. I'm already kind of suspecting that. If I were to say it. Ambrose would probably be on board with it, would probably not even question it. Iris, I'm guessing similar, although at the village she would be on the fence about it. But I feel like Samson's gonna feel like I'm the fucking madman there. Which is on par for Samson. Incorporating player backstories. One of the most important tools in a game master's arsenal is to ask questions of your players and incorporate their answers. They will tell you what they find exciting through the response they give you. The most obvious and important of these in building a campaign are the answers to the character's background questions. The background questions are designed specifically to generate story hooks the players care about that can be leveraged for narrative fodder when doing prep for the campaign. You'll want to ensure you not only take good notes about each of the characters during the character creation, but also ask important follow-up questions. Don't be afraid to dig deeper into anything the player offers up during this process. If they make up a person, ask them for their name. If they make up a place, ask them what it's called, and maybe what it's like there if it's unclear. You'll want to make sure with each player you're recording at least one or two things about the world that are important to them. The more you are able to incorporate these things into the campaign, the more invested that player tends to become. Yeah, this kind of jumps back into what I mentioned with the downtime, but this is a bit more as part of the character creation and as the player kind of develops their character. Keep an eye out in what exactly that character's interests are and how exactly you can play them into the actual campaign by other like actual events or points of interest and not necessarily just locations like how it was mentioned here on the maps. There could be important NPCs that they could be offered, or you can, you know, whatever they're creating, you can then tie in with some other aspects of the event or can fully replace them if you feel like whatever they created feels more appropriate than whatever you had in mind, because that can also be a thing. In some cases, you can even let the player maybe run a bit freely with that aspect of basically creating their own factions or creating their own aspects of the campaign and of the world where their character is connected, and you just simply take it, integrate the rest, like, you know, figure out just the logistic of okay, how this inner workings and how this society could connect with everything else, and not necessarily dwell too much on it, because for example that's something I did for like a homebrew campaign that I was in a long time ago. I've created like a full-on, like an entire faction in how exactly they worked. That was kind of built around or like focused for my character that I was running. I was playing for that homebrew campaign and homebrew setting, because it was a homebrew setting. And the game master simply just took it and utilized it, and from that point on, kind of presented it as part of an important entity of the world in their general sense, but also with some hints here and there that there might be some things that I have to deal with in the near future. Unfortunately, not a lot has been developed for that, because I think we've ended those sessions not too long after. I don't think we've run too many sessions of that, unfortunately. It happens. Yeah, I think that this is just some examples how exactly to take some backstory notes. I think from what it's mentioned here is like they mention like things like in what city they're born into, what is some of their interpersonal relationships, either with NPCs or maybe existing characters, if they have any kind of conflicts that they're dealing with. You know, if they have some certain connection with some maybe major aspects of the whatever you're planning into the campaign. Yeah, and I think they also mention yeah, they also mention like some kind of character relationship. So yeah, it's I'm not gonna like run through them, because I mean, mostly they're just examples and how it's about like certain characters. But yeah, take a note of like important stuff like locations, relationship with NPCs, relationship with their characters, and personal interests and whatever inner or other conflicts they might be dealing with right in the moment or have been dealt with in the past. Tying backstories together. Once you've identified key points in each of the player character stories, start to identify which of these pieces of information could be related, how these stories could potentially cross paths and draw some connections between them. Maybe maybe one of the characters is a maybe one of the characters is the Snow Big Gnome treasure collector that is a rival to the other. You could be the same person as that Astrid Galore, the gnome princess, was forced to marry. And if that's the case, what if Magavrik was now forcing Mage Yarrow to use his magic to invade the Fungril network in order to seize more great treasure around the world without having to leave the kingdom. This will create a crossover between Astrid, Gemfrin, and Barnabas, so it seems like a good place to start our campaign. But let's keep thinking. This type of conflict will likely eventually lead into the return to the Galamore kingdom to stop him, where we could find what actually happened to Astrid and perhaps convince Quill and her Jasperpart friends. Yeah, basically from what I see here, it kind of slowly jumps into kind of how you can start to slowly connect threads that might be common between that feel common between characters, and how from that point on it kind of cascades and kind of you slowly create yourself this you build this kind of domino effect. Slowly pre-build a domino effect, and depending on how depending on the choices the characters make, then you can adjust as you go, which could be a great method. Because I was trying to think with the hug, because I like to kind of reference the Hunter, because it's the recent TTRPG that I have in my mind, because most of the other games that I played have been years ago. In some ways or another, we have threads between us. I think, like, although Damien has been is not necessarily of Savannah or not necessarily local and equally Ambrose, but I vaguely noticed some threads, or at least assume there might be some threads connected with some aspects of the characters. I mean, yeah, it's very obvious right now that Ambrose and Patrick and Samson have a connection through Patrick, but hey, through one of the NPCs. But that's another thing. In some ways, kind of Iris's deal has also slowly been connected, and equally Iris with Samson have this connection again through Patrick. I think at the very least when they started. Yeah, to be fair, Patrick has been the common point for every one of us, because we've encountered him. I think with the exception of Ambrose, each of one of us has encountered him before session 1 in one way or another. But I also thinking like backstory stuff. I'm not fully sure yet. There's some stuff that I might get some revelations soon. Because I've had some conversations and I just need to prep it for a bit. but I feel like I'm gonna get some lore drops that I'm probably not ready for, but we'll see. We'll fucking see. So yeah, planning a story arc. Now that we've had some ideas of what could potentially happen in our campaign, it's time to start talking about arcs. Arcs are connected series of sessions within a campaign that focus on a specific objective, theme, character, or idea. We can perhaps best think of this like seasons of a TV show. Most of the time, characters want something in the first episode, work together through the course of the episodes within the season, and either succeed or fail by the finale. In some ways, we also have the kind of Hunter stuff plan, at the very least. I know for a fact like Ghost to some extent has its plan like that, and we've vaguely discussed it in kind of season terms. Once we reach like a meaningful conclusion. At the very least for the moment, and we'll see where we go from there. You want to think about your arc in a similar way, though you won't know for sure the path of your players would take. By preparing the structure of the arc, you can ensure that you're giving them adequate narrative fodder for a satisfying story. Arcs are typically between 3 to 5 sessions in length, though they can be longer depending on how large of a campaign you're running. It's usually a good to start small and build up to larger arcs as the characters get more invested in the stories you're all telling together. But no matter the length, building out an arc's structure is generally pretty similar. There are very few different structures that stories often take, but we're going to use the 3-act structure as our framework here because it's the most common one and it's the easiest to identify in many of today's movies and TV shows, and it's not hard to find references. As always, feel free to experiment with your own style of storytelling and only use the things from this section that actually help your table. 3-act structure is pretty straightforward. Act 1 is the introduction, Act 2 is the trials and tribulation, and Act 3 is the finale. If we're planning a 4-session arc, it will probably break down as one. Session 1 is Act 1, Session 2 and 3 usually should be the Act 2, and Session 4 is Act 3. This is something we see everywhere in almost every popular movie or TV show. A character wants something, they work hard and face challenges to get that thing and finally succeed or fail, but always change because of the journey they went through. Because of this, it's often what players expect out of a good story, even if they don't know it. It's what feels satisfying to us because it's the way we're used to seeing stories. We can utilize that expectation in our prep to make our work easier. Let's take an example from our conversation in the previous chapter about one of our players' backstories to form our first arc. Given how much crossover potential there is between the players, he's going to focus here. He's gonna one of the players, because Maverick was like kind of focus. He's gonna be the focus. Since that will give almost everyone a chance to have their backstories interwoven into the story at the start. As a reminder from the example's player's backstory, Maverick is a snowy gnome treasure collector who is a rival to Barnabas, and we've made a decision that Maverick is one who has stolen Astrid Galamore's hand in marriage. Even though she has been in love with our party's bard Jasper since childhood. Because Maverick is now residing in the kingdoms with her, we've already decided that he's forcing Jasper's old mentor, Mage Giaro, to use his arcane powers to tap into the expensive fungal network and hunt for treasure remotely. So yeah, for Act 1, the collision, we'll want to think about how to make these events collide with our party and in a way they can't ignore. It's often best to go for the most obvious answer, then complicate things from there. For this situation, the low-hanging fruit is Maverick going after an artifact that the party has been asked to protect. If he's using the fungal network to do it, then perhaps he's having Yarrow create a plant-like creature filled with the fungus that can be controlled by him. There's our first act encounter, and there's the act that can build out from there. The most important thing to keep in mind about Act 1 is that you want to use it to introduce a bigger conflict the party will encounter down the road, give them a taste of what's to come, and draw them into the arc stories in a fun way. use this technique in the preparing session section, you might end up with something like this below. Okay, so basically it's split in beats. Beat 1. On their way to a new city, the party runs across the collateral damage left behind by elemental creatures, something that tells Marigold that the people searching for her are close by. Beat 2. As they arrive in a new city, they notice that plants have overgrown everything. They also meet some kind townsfolk who tell them about the attacks on the city by plant creatures at night. Upon inquiry, they'll be taken to the place where the attacks are the worst, the university. Then on beat 3, at the university, the students all know who Barnabas is. They're studying his works with bone runes. The headmistress Emilia Rose, who is a big proponent of the work that Barnabas is doing, takes the party in and shows them the plant creatures they have been after. The Eye of the Strix, a massive owl creature from the hidden island of Bogontyron. Again, fuck. Adrian, I'll be back in a second. For now, I'm going to tell people I lost my Discord account. I recommend blocking me if you have me added. Ooh, that's rough, buddy. I don't think I have you added on Discord. No, I don't. I only think you. No, I most likely we're just in the similar groups as. Wow, now I'm just sad. Hey, we're just in similar like Discord groups to each other, but I don't think I've actually added you on Discord. I don't think. I'm pretty sure I don't. But to be fair, that's the general issue I had with Discord, because most of the times I'm in Discord groups and not necessarily in chat in like in created like voice chats. I'm in groups with built-in VCs and communities, and I've had that issue with friends. I think like weeks ago, we made like a custom VC that was not in a group. We just made a call, and we realized that okay, we needed to add one of our friends to the call. And we're like, hey, do you have him on your friend list? I looked in my friend list. No. Don't you have it? No, I don't have it. How the fuck you don't have him on your friend list? We had ttrpg sessions with this man for years, and then we realized, oh, because he's always been in our groups, we never had to add him to our friend list because he's always been present on our servers. Oh, right. So yeah, basically added him after like years of talking. We just added him now. No issue is that oh no, your issue is that you don't have your own servers. Oh, I mean, no, we have our own servers. It's just the thing is, if we jump in with some new peeps, with that we don't necessarily want to instantly add to our servers. We just make our voice calls. We just make like a call and that's it. And again, I'm also talking about like my personal account in most situations. And here, I think I have some people added for this Discord account that I'm currently using for like the VTuber stuff, but I'm pretty sure I don't have everybody. I'm pretty sure I have some people, and with some I've just interacted on their servers. I mean, yes, I also had ones with my friends, and usually those are like our TTRPG groups, and sometimes we jump into those, but we're not gonna willy-nilly add everybody who we just jump into in a session, because we realize when our server is kind of a specialized servers. Of course, we've had our general hangout servers, but we don't just make a general hangout server. We usually have like specialized servers. Like we had like TTRPG servers, we had like groups for certain projects type servers. I forgot what kind of other servers we had. There have been some other stuff, but we never just simply had a hangout server, because usually one of the other servers would also have the hangout stuff, so that's why. All right, I'll be big. Yeah, that's fine. Good luck with that. Also, the fucking sucks, because I think I had like a friend who also lost their Discord account as well, which is fucking, you know, annoying, because then you have to like notify everybody and be like, hey, if there's anything sus about my account, just don't interact, don't do shit with that kind of stuff. So yeah. Okay, her parents disappeared in search of the owl when she was a kid, and she spent her life trying to find where they went. You can extract the memory. Okay, beat 4. Yeah, basically, it kind of gives you an exemplification of how you can then section the session by beats, and kind of how exactly for each beat kind of offer the information that slowly builds up every character individually, because in one aspect they've one beat focused on one character, the next beat focused on a different character. So yeah, that's basically a good way to add introduction to everyone else. Though the sessions may change from the prep you've done, and you may have to adapt some of this to a different context and that than what's above on what your players decide to do, the important thing is this first act is that it sets up the rest of the arc. It creates questions for the player characters to search after. Why is Yaro doing this? Why did he look scared? Was the other person giving him orders? If somebody's looking for relics, could it be Maverick? What is this, Boga Tyrant? Where is it? Why is it hidden? The dramatic questions are all the things that drive the player characters forward in the campaign. Finding out what questions they want to answer will push you into Act 2. I mean, yeah, this is kind of something that also happened on our end. I think after our first session of our hunter stuff, like I think Damien, like his first jump was to explore the hunter net and figure out what's the deal with this app and try to understand how all of a sudden this weird ass fucking app appeared on the screen, as he is the type of individual that applies everything logically and into a very grounded way, which is also kind of a reason why he felt inclined to push on a bit with the with the NWO, as they have a similar kind of logical and kind of grounded perspective of everything that's happening, even though it could be a false perspective. But for Damien, it's kind of Damien is kind of using it to test the waters, to kind of finally see. It's kind of his own test of seeing like what exactly is the truth and what exactly is the facade or an implied facade or a simple delusion, because so also being around other individuals that technically in some sense see the issue the same way he sees it, or at the very least he processes it, because he processes it in a logical kind of real grounded way, and not necessarily simply jumps to the conclusion of this shit is magic or whatever, or somehow supernatural. And yeah, he kind of looked into that. He looked into aspects of what exactly what was the deal with the professor. He's very interested of the things that happened in the moment and with some of the people that maybe he has been involved in some way or another. But I think some aspects of that kind of finished pretty quick, as some of the other issues. Oh yeah, and why exactly we have all of this weird thing with the with our friend being kind of with one of our characters' brother being all of a sudden hunted and wanted by some individuals or some entities that we do not know of. So yeah, Damien has been really on point, and he's really been kind of goal-oriented in some ways or other. He has not necessarily allowed himself to derail and look into more general aspects of some of the other characters. To an extent, yes, Ambrose has become a weird focus just because some elements have been very Ambrose forward, some aspects of the story. Currently, the one that he's not necessarily picked at, and simply because he never had an opportunity to kind of look into it or to kind of figure him out, is Samson. He's kind of the mystery to him right now. He doesn't necessarily know how Samson works. And because he's kind of there, present, but he's not fully sure what exactly his goals are and what exactly he wishes out of this partnership and out of this kind of group that we've created ourselves. Then for Act 2, but yeah, that's another thing. Now, jumping to Act 2, players are then thrust forward into a journey to answer their biggest questions before the end of Act 1. You can't plan too far ahead because you can't be sure which direction they're going to. Yes, because you never know what's gonna happen from session to session. They might alert the fucking biggest biggest threat around from in session 2 and just have to rethink all of it together. Hey, I mean, couldn't be us. Nah, never. They can't be sure which direction they're going. They almost certainly will want to figure out what's happening with the mage. But what if they decide to instead escort the professor? Or maybe something else entirely? It's often best to lead from behind as you approach Act 2 to let the players show the questions they want to answer most and fill in the gaps as they move forward. Once they're off on this quest, Act 2 is all about the complications that get in the way. And as you prep for these questions, the complications should matter. They should be personal and speak to the themes and tones of the campaign you're building together. If, for example, the party decides to head north to the Galamord Kingdom to find out what's happening with the mage, we know they'll be on the road a few days to get up there. It might be tempting to throw a few random encounters with wild animals, some people asking for help with unrelated issues, or some roles to see how well they're able to survive the distant travel, but Act 2 is all about the build up to the climactic finale. So what can we do instead to make it feel like a story rather than just the time that's passing before we get to the kingdom? We know that Barnabas is searching for a legendary dragon. We're likely going to have a feature arc when the players are most likely at a high level that it's centered around the attack of Bloomfair. So one of the characters' hometowns, another character's hometown. So one of the options is to foreshadow that the event on the journey is to show the dragon's power. Maybe we put a village that has been also decimated by fire with massive claws dug into the ground, and the city's powerful mage killed. Those alive talk about an attack by a massive flying creature that disappeared into the sun. Something that Barnabas will immediately recognize. But to give the players something to act on now, maybe the beast had small companions or minions that leapt into the city and are creating havoc, or dragged somebody important into the forest, or have shapeshifted to look like normal citizens. Depending on what kind of challenge your table enjoys, you can change what kind of encounter this is. So yeah, basically you can become more of a mystery, more of a survival one, more of a, or just a normal kind of a chase sequence type, or normal kind of general combat encounter. Depending on your player preferences, you can make those adjustments. I'm launching an assault on my own account. I mean, you should, because in case your account has been stolen and now it's started to be used as a platform for sus stuff, yes, you should probably be, that account should probably be somehow fucking smacked down or reported. And at this point, even if it's recovered, it'll be bombed to the point where I have to rebuild it entirely anyways. Yeah, that's also fair. Yeah, better to... Oh, fishing. It sucks. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm perfect, because goddammit, the biggest thing about all this stuff is social engineering, which is the fucking annoying thing, because sometimes you could just don't notice it. But I am a bit prudent and a bit more skeptical about those kinds of things, especially these days. So I try to keep myself safe with that kind of. Why are people immoral on a petty level? Why rob? That's a hard-loaded question. For many reasons. Could be personal, could be mental health issues, could be society pushed them into this hole, could be many things. Systems failed them. From the most understandable and, you know, relatable reasons, like factors that push them to the edge, to the more sinister ones. Believe me, the petty ones are the ones that are usually the most successful. Because usually the petty ones are all about kind of getting the big bucks. Like, I don't want to mention too much, but from what I think it happened like a few months ago. My neighbor upstairs on the floor above me has been searched by the authorities. I think he might have been related with some hacking schemes. So yes, it's a thing. And then I've seen like the actual local news. I'm like, holy shit. They had like a fuck ton of like burner phones, a ton of like fucking cash money, all of that, you know, the cash deposits, all that kind of stuff. Like, holy shit, they had like they were like stuff in here. Yeah, I've seen after like they are the yes. Yeah, I'm not gonna go into too much detail and reading all of this because it's just simply exemplifying some aspects of some characters that have been given here to kind of give you an idea. But yes, basically with act, if you use a free story act, once you get to Act 2, basically complications, look into what exactly is the player's interest, kind of build upon them, and then look into some other elements of their own personal backstories or other aspects of their own to kind of then maybe build up or foreshadow some future events, either that are going to be related with what's going to happen by Act 3 or something that's going to be for future arcs, for future elements. Because, you know, an arc, as mentioned at the beginning, could be a focus on a specific character, could be a focus on a specific theme or issue, or could be focused on a specific like location or like events that kind of interconnect to into a larger scheme. Yeah, you slowly kind of build them up and look into the player's interests and see what exactly can add along the way. Because yes, you can also a great thing that you can do, you can also slowly foreshadow and slowly add kind of breadcrumbs for things that you then can explore for the future, because it also allows you a lot more time for that player to kind of express their interest and express how exactly they are looking into it while dealing with the current present arcs, the current present like arc that they are on. So then they can give you a lot more time to work on it, and also to see how exactly that player or group of players want to approach that problem once they start looking for it. Yeah, and whatever the journey may entail, once the player characters have reached the kingdom to confront the mage, we're now breaking into the final act of our arc, which is the climax. In Act 3, we'll see our player characters resolve some of the big questions they have, and often face off against the powerful force they've been preparing. Through Act 1 and Act 2, it's important here to identify what the players are most excited about finding answers to, and providing at least some of those answers in this act. Even if that means the answers spur even more question. Oftentimes these answers are what launch to the next arc of your campaign, so having an idea of what they're going into this act will help you prepare for what's to come. Though not absolutely mandatory, it's also always a good idea to plan some sort of reveal, surprise, or twist in this act. Something that isn't quite what it seems. These kinds of plot twists keep the players on their toes and can make them excited to find out what will happen next. In the case of our current examples, we have a few twists prepared for the mage, under the control of Maverick, who has squirmed his way into the kingdom by marrying Astrid, another NPC, and Jasper childhood love. So yeah, basically see what exactly is the current heavy interest of the party. Start prepping for that, reveal those aspects. Maybe in some ways you can also already have it somewhat figured out or somewhat prepped, because I think even we discussed it a bit about it in the Hunter sessions. There is currently, we have like out of session, we have a current theory and something that has been discussed, where exactly this will lead on, where our sessions will lead on, and depending on how those events kind of unfold during that kind of climactic session, which by the way we kind of have a timetable for it. We were given it behind the scenes. It's kind of like it's one of those, like, you know, countdowns that, you know, slowly approaches. But, you know, depending on when we reach that point, we'll probably have to figure out, and depending how the events unfold, there might be some heavy shifts after that session, or specifically after that conclusion. And we've had some discussion on what exactly those shifts could be, where exactly it could go after that fact. We've spun some interesting ideas about it, so we kind of have to see where it's gonna go. But yeah, it's gonna be something. It's gonna be interesting. So yeah, you can also have it like prepared beforehand, and depending on how the players then act after the fact, you can change it a bit. Like you can also clue in the players a bit, like, hey, look, this is kind of what's gonna happen and what might be the outcome out of it, because it gives the players some room of thought and some, you know, you're basically hinting them like, hey, this could be the possible events, and the players could then start like working on it and maybe even figure out some solutions that will shift that from that possibility and change the outcomes heavily, maybe even change whatever is gonna happen for the final session, and no longer be whatever the game master has initially planned. Because that's also a thing that, I mean, you know, as long as maybe it's not necessarily in the exact session, because that's gonna be a bit sad to feel like, yes, I've had my climactic moment prepared. Oh yeah, we just made something right in this final session that is no longer gonna put it into play, so tough luck. And all of that preparation thrown away. It's the nature of the beast sometimes. It's fine. And yeah, because I'm gonna jump a bit. And yes, at some point there will be some form of a showdown between Maverick and the party. Maybe he's still under the Major's control, uses a weapon against them. Maybe he absorbed their arcane power and now is attacking the party with magic himself. Maybe he's turned coward and is attempting to flee with Astrid through a secret tunnel beneath the castle. Whatever it is, you should play out. You should probably be a big, exciting, and dangerous ending to the arc, in a way that it ties up some loose ends while creating opportunity for more adventures in the next arc. So yeah, the big idea with the climax, the act 3 and the so-called the climax, is by the end of it there should be something big, a big confrontation of whatever that may be. Could be something socially kind of charged in some kind of, like, I don't know, heavy interrogation, like heavy capture, like some kind of points of capture. It could be something a bit more puzzle focused. It could actually be just full on a combat, some kind of chase sequence, but something that by the end of it you get some closure, some level of closure. But I said at the same time, that closure can build up to different questions, into different things that you want to look into after the fact, or who knows, the closure that you receive may not necessarily be the closure you wanted, and all of a sudden something new basically rises from it, and you're now wanting to find out something more about it, or something different that is connected to it in some way or another, or who knows, that closure offered you also some additional information of something else that maybe it was not something you expected. Maybe it was something connected to another character, and from that point on basically the story kind of pushes on from that character's perspective. So you shift from one character to another, especially if you have arcs that focused on a character or some kind of character's interpersonal relationships, because in some cases that's part of the TRPGs. Some arcs are heavily themed and heavily connected to a specific character or set of or group of characters. And when I say a character, I mean a player character, not an NPC. And they will most likely be the focus. Of course, find ways to kind of introduce and maybe add some foreshadowing, add some crumbs and some details for the other characters for their own personal stuff, so that at the very least they don't necessarily feel left out. But it's equally also their kind of responsibility, and also kind of somewhat in some ways an unspoken rule of let the events kind of roll out, let's see where it's going. Of course, do things in a way that you find enjoyable, and you don't disrupt the experience, you don't disrupt the rest of the group. If you feel like you can also contribute in some way, because yes, it is at the end of the day, it's a collaborative process and it's a collaborative game. So even if you may not necessarily be the focus of this arc and the story, you can still maybe plan out some ways or figure out some methods in how exactly you can become an important part of it. And who knows, by the end of it, maybe because of it, you can create some new relationships with the character that was the focus of that arc. So yeah, you can even, so that can kind of pushes into some elements of characterization. And then finally, living world. One of the most exciting aspects of gameplay is having the world change as the player characters move through it. After you finish each session, think about the world at large and that at large has been affected by the events that unfolded, and what story beats in the future might reflect those changes. What NPCs have been the most impacted, what adversaries or allies might come into the story because of what happened, letting the story unfold naturally based on what the player characters have done, and showcasing how the world has changed because of their actions, both good and bad, can remind your players that what they do in the game truly matters. So yeah, don't keep things static. Even if you plan some things in the far future or the near future that are not necessarily in play in the next sessions or the upcoming sessions, still look to see if there are any connections or any threads that might go back to those things that you planned ahead. Because if those move into some aspects that could change them that will change them along the way. Sorry, my brain stopped working for a second there. Then having those shifts can remind the players like, hey, what you're doing can not necessarily remind the players, but can tell the players that what you're doing matters and what you're doing has consequences, which can be a warning and a deterrent for maybe disruptive behavior, because that's also a thing, but at the same time it can also be a reward and something to kind of and a show of appreciation towards the players, like, hey, look, you've done this amazing thing, and because you've done this amazing thing, all of these other aspects of that you're now encountering in the future because of your actions are much better now, and you're gonna have an easier time for it. Of course, even equally, bad things can attract good and good things can attract bad. If you've done a lot of good deeds and good things, you might attract attention to something to unsavory characters that don't necessarily want you to be involved in their business, and they see you as a threat now. Maybe you've done a lot of bad, now people that want to shift that and push you into some good efforts, or who knows, just want to basically bring you to justice now are also elements. So you can also look into those things, not necessarily punish them, but also think of and how to add kind of twists and conflicts from time to time. It shouldn't necessarily be a constant, like, yes, not every time the group or a player does good deeds they should also encounter something bad, but maybe if the good deeds are at a large enough scale and at the very least show some sort of a pattern, maybe any kind of character that kind of deals in that pattern or somehow is connected to whatever the players are trying to prevent, now can become like some kind of a character of interest for them and be a part of it. And who knows, you can maybe slowly build up some kind of villain later down the line that could be your next climax, or maybe someone that that can be someone maybe push along the lines for your act 2. Like they could be some kind of middleman or some kind of henchman that could bring up some complications and conflicts that will then reveal who's the big bad and who's the individual at the end for the climax, or give you some information or reveal some twists about maybe some characters or some aspects of the players that will bring some new information and introduce the character even further, because that's also another interesting thing. Introducing aspects of the characters as the campaign evolves. So you don't have to necessarily know everything. Your party doesn't necessarily have to know everything about a player character from the start, or even an NPC character. They might learn them as things go on, and maybe as acts basically go through and as arcs develop. Because then it can basically add additional new conflicts in the moment, like how, for example, happened to me in session 2 between Damien and Ambrose. Damien found, basically, we had this reveal that the Ambrose's family has dealings in these kinds of supernatural creatures, and somehow he is also in some ways a target or an individual of interest, which brings danger. And because you know, nobody, there was no warning of it, and there was no like transparency because of it. You know, Damien saw it as an issue, and because of it, in that moment it created a point of conflict between the two of them, which still unravels even to this day. For boy, if you could see the messages we send to each other, like how many messages do we have on Discord? I think like we have like over 100 messages that are sent like in between us, in character, as a kind of as a reference. Like, let me check. 145 messages. Yeah, we've ranted a lot between each other. As kind of a, to kind of show how much kind of conflict there is between us. But you know, Damien is kind of in a way a foil to Ambrose, because you know, Damien is a lot more logical. Damien likes to plan things out, and you know, for him information is kind of the key, and from that point on, the planning, of course, for a lack of a better terms, Ambrose is more of the executioner, in the sense of he's the man of action, but at the same time, yes, he's also an actual executioner, because he has the highest kill count, because I'm sorry that not all hunters can have flaming swords as their weapons. It's not a thing. Although I am planning, depending on how Damien evolves, because I thought about it now, as I've made some shifts, because I've talked a bit with the ghost and basically discussed with her, hey look, the redemption point that I had for that kind of gave me that kind of bluster, the bluster edge, I kind of want to change it and remove it, because another character from the group, or from the cell, already has bluster, and we kind of, I don't want to necessarily step on their side of it, on their contribution, and or at least always look into those niche moments where you know, that in this case Iris, because I'm talking about Iris, in case of when Iris is using the blaster compared to when Damien could use a blaster, because yes, technically Damien uses it more as a kind of a support defense tool, while yeah, kind of a support tool for the other members of the cell, while Iris used the blaster more in self-defense. So there is still that separation in niche, but you know, I still felt like it still wasn't enough, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna be full-on visionary and get myself the pinpoint edge, which allows me to get new weaknesses. But I kind of thought a bit about it, because technically I was like, wait, what if when I ding with the character, depending on how things evolve with my character, that's kind of how I'm gonna decide where I'll go further. Like, yes, overall Damien, he's a visionary by creed, and he's a visionary by design and concept, but maybe depending on how some events will turn out by the time he dings, he might be slowly pushed with a bit of elements of mercy, or elements of zeal. Currently he's in between in those aspects. He inclines a bit into mercy, which is kind of a way I played into with him, simply because there is no mercy character to be that kind of foil, because the rest of the group is zeal, are basically zeal, are the rest of the zeal creeds. We have an avenger, a judge, and not a redeemer, and a defender, which all three are zeal creeds, and I'm the visionary. That's it. We don't have any kind of mercy character to offer us that perspective and that kind of conflict. So that's why I kind of played initially Damien as kind of, okay, he's a visionary, but he has kind of a slight side of mercy, and how he views her. Like, he doesn't necessarily fault supernatural for what they are. He doesn't necessarily see them as he doesn't necessarily see them completely as monsters. In some cases he sees them as victims, or you know, individuals that were affected by circumstance, because that's how he kind of seems himself and the rest of the hunters of our cell, because we just been given these abilities outside of without any kind of say in the matter, and now all of a sudden we have to deal with all the things that we found out. For Damien, that's not an issue, because for him he sees it as kind of a blessing, a kind of a gift, that because of this new abilities, he's now being able to push forward and explore more things in what he wanted to discover, and discover more about his own goals, and push him into his own goals. While maybe some other characters, he sees them as just victims of circumstance. So Yeah, but you know, I like to keep that on the open end for Damien to see what exactly how exactly evolves each the neat characterization aspects. But anyhow, again, I was ranting and derailing. So that kind of covers the running a campaign. I just wanted to look a bit through it because, as I mentioned, overall I kind of want to conclude with Daggerheart for the streams for a bit, like until we get like a new update with some new changes. I don't necessarily want to cover it further on future streams. This will probably be like a final stream. I've kind of covered running a campaign. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take a quick like 5-10 minutes ish break, and then I'm just gonna look through the chapters and see if there's anything else we can discuss, or if not, if you all wanna, we can also have like an open discussion in general about like ttrpg aspects if you all want to do that. So yeah, by the time I come back for the break, if you want to have like discussion topics or questions, or you want to ask for advice, you can prep them in the meantime. So yeah, I'll be back. I'll join you all in a few minutes. Okay, I'm gonna jump back in. Let me just unpin this. There we go. Okay, so what exactly can we look at? Kind of as a bit of a filler more than anything. Because yeah, I still want to do my, you know, run of the minimum like 4 hours ish. So I still have like one more hour to go, and an hour and a half, less than that technically. So yeah, as I mentioned, if you want to have like some topics that you want to discuss or anything like that that are ttrpg related, we can do that. Additionally, something I kind of thought about it, if there is anybody present around here that have also been present on the Hunt of the Reckoning sessions, and if you want to ask anything connected to that campaign, and more specifically connected to Damien, because I'm not gonna ask other player questions regarding other players aside from Damien's perspective of other characters. On that end, you can also do that. Consider it also kind of as a trial run for if we're gonna do this kind of discussion streams on those campaigns, on those sessions, and on the characters. So yeah, this could also be kind of a trial run for me to kind of figure out how exactly to figure it out logistically. Again, if you've necessarily been around, but yeah, mostly like if they are like anything Hunter the Reckoning related, probably mostly focused around like Damien and maybe how and Damien's relationship with other characters, not necessarily nothing else, because I'm not gonna. I know some stuff out of character simply because I started looking into World of Darkness, as that's how I usually am when I hyperfixate on a TTRPG. I start to delve into it and get obsessed by it, which is something. Look, man, I already made a backup character. Not only that, I'm also thinking on a vampire character for some goddamn reason. Like, I've already like slowly built up a playlist for the character. I'm like, wait, what am I doing? Stop this. This is getting out of hand. This is crazy. So yeah. Okay, to be fair, because I was looking at this one beforehand with the adversaries, which basically talks some info on how the monsters, the creature stats for the adversaries are, because that's basically how monsters and enemies are called in Daggerheart. They're called adversaries, which, to be fair, I find it like a really nice term, because enemies and monsters imply you know, the naming necessarily could imply that they're completely against you, while adversary could also be a rival, somebody that, you know, they might have the same goal as you and might have the same good intentions as you. They just don't want to necessarily do it in the way you're doing it, or somehow there is some kind of element of competition between the two of you. So, you know, in that case, yes, that individual is an adversary, not a foe, not an enemy. Because I feel like probably adversary is not necessarily as loaded. Yeah, it mentions some aspects of how to run adversaries and how to do that kind of stuff. And also, I like that also mentioned like they mentioned like horde enemies and minions, but I just want to look like. Oh. I like how they mentioned adversaries and environments, but this entire section is about adversaries, and then you have a separate section that it's called using environments, which is something different. So yeah. Creating your own world, I know it's kind of talks about more about the yeah, it kind of talks about more like elements of world building and game master prep. But it's really cool because I'm actually gonna show it a bit. Like I'm just gonna skim through it, and not necessarily read it, because it offers you like a really neat template of kind of how to prep. First of all, like a one shot, and it gives you some kind of ideas in how exactly you can create this interesting like template and kind of like not necessarily choose your own adventure. If I'm blanking out. You basically, yeah, you kind of receive kind of like a poll. Yeah, it's kind of like poll way of doing it. Like here is like the general like prologue and adventure, and you know the players can like vote on it or like select options of each of them or things like that. And to see kind of how everything evolves. Then on the GM prep of things, you know, they also give you like suggestions what exactly you can offer as twists or additional elements of conflict or development. I also like that they kind of also give you some really good like additional like keywords and descriptors that you can add to yours, basically to add to your vocabulary, which I also find like really neat, because this could also be words that you can basically add to your own vocabulary for whatever scene descriptions you're doing and all those kinds of parts of it. Because yeah, I understand, myself included here, to be fair, when it comes to writing in a narrative or kind of descriptory type sense, I'm not the best. I'm not a creative writer. I'm more of a technical writer. I'm a game designer. I write specifics. I write the technicalities, systems. My writing is a bit more, one-to-one. It's not necessarily artistic or flared or anything like that. Or somehow pompous. Yes, even my writing can be a bit heavy simply because it's a bit heavy on the concepts, or not necessarily the concepts, on the terminology, because game design the game development terms and all that kind of stuff, but not necessarily, they don't necessarily use flowery words or anything like that. They also offer you like some locations on different tiers, which basically the tiers imply the levels that the character should be. Like tier 0 is for level 1 characters, tier 1 is for level 2 and 4, tier 2 for 5 and 7, tier 3 for 8 to 10. So that's really nice, with some ideas, with some like descriptions of the location and what exactly you could find in these locations that would to help you kind of build encounters, puzzles, combats, and other types of other scenarios. Give a quick reminder of kind of I think like, yeah, that's kind of like a quick skim through the GM principles that we've discussed some streams prior. Some points of interest with some additional descriptions, and with probably some interesting text that could offer you some tie-ins to maybe some other aspects of the story, or from where you can build up additional plot hooks or quests or any other points of interest or connections between the characters. Equally with factions, offer you some kind of how to structure NPCs. When it comes to NPCs that are part of a specific factions, you know, with what difficulty, experience, some visual description, and whatever is kind of their general motive, that can then give you an idea on how this NPC acts in a specifically. Moments of hope, moments of fear. So basically, I think this is this can basically could probably be used as moments whenever a character rolls with fear and hope, that can then be put into the session. You know, rumors, which could be true, could be false, which is another like fun thing you can just shove in there. Especially if you just leave it open-ended and be like, yes, these are rumors, and then later down the line, depending on how things evolve, you can figure out like if that rumor that you mentioned back then is actually true or not, because you can retroactively change it, because you're the game master. As long as they don't know what you're doing behind the screen, the game master screen, it's, you know, it's free game, it's up to you. Yeah, some idea of how to, like, you know, reward items and offer them certain rewards, then creature stats. I jumped into the... Oh no. Yeah, I know, these are the locations. Yeah, basically it mentions every location with all of that, with all of the creatures of place of interest, what you could obtain from rolling with fear and hope. And let me just, I'm just gonna scroll down. Yeah, because to be fair, for this one, there's no reason for me to fully look into it, as I mentioned before. These are like you know, in detail aspects and things that you can basically inspire yourself from, and or in some way or another can literally just completely take them as they are here, and just simply maybe change names and things like that and use them as they are if you haven't used them previously, because that's totally valid. That works as well. But yeah, creating world is really neat. I like that they offer you tools like from the very get-go, which to me implies that Daggerheart as a system, it will offer you not only elements, because you know a core player rulebook usually kind of gives you how to run a game in general, which equally apply to game master and player, and maybe some additional extra tools here and there, maybe some additional extra info here and there, but that's kind of it. And then for anything else that we want more game master specific, you literally have to jump into like getting an additional an additional book that offers you all of the game master tools, and then into other things. From what I see here, Daggerheart kind of gives you both of basically information for both. It gives you useful tools for game master that you can utilize from the very get-go, so you don't have to basically either invest, you know, additional resources or time into looking for other guides. And at the same time, it's also all of the important information for the players to create their characters and to make them be meaningful parts of the story. Because honestly, if all of this, like how to create like templates into creating one-shots and give you like campaign advice, as well as all of the what was it? Adversary, all and the aspects of how to customize and homebrew. If all of these are gonna be part of the core book, like the main book of Daggerheart, I mean, that's amazing. If it's a one in all kind of deal, and maybe with probably the only thing that's gonna be lacking is, I'm guessing, is gonna be an adventure, or not an adventure, list of monster or adversary stats. It's amazing. It's gonna basically give you all the things necessary for equally, in an equal amount, for a game master and a player, which sometimes that can be an issue for certain systems, because sometimes they don't focus too much on how exactly the game master should handle their side of the game, and they're just given like the general rules, and some aspects of game mastering, at the very least the bare requirements to kind of understand how you as a game master should initiate the game on your side, and that's kind of it. So yeah, honestly, if this is, if whatever if all they are presenting here in the playtest is indicative of the final product, it's offers you a lot, and in a good way. Like it's not necessarily just fluff. It's not necessarily just there for the sake of adding more pages. It's useful material that you can choose to use however you prefer. Which probably pushes into the idea that maybe, which I'm really gonna be curious, and I'm gonna keep myself an eye out on that, because currently my suspicion and how I suspect that things are gonna kind of evolve with Daggerheart once the system has been released fully officially. I'm guessing that they're gonna do something kind of like expansion sets, or kind of like that, because seeing, I know that they had this whole thing initially where, you know, you had like player cards and domain cards, you know, that kind of thing. So I'm guessing they're doing it more, they're probably gonna expand it in a more kind of gamey type way, where whatever expansion set they're gonna send it, they're gonna be like more player centric, you know, DM centric. So, you know, you're gonna have like an expansion set where you're gonna get maybe like a set of like more like adversary cards, which are gonna be like cards that you know, the you know, creature NPC stats that, you know, the game master can use for their game, with maybe some additional info here and there. Because I'm gonna be curious if they're gonna do a lot of world building on the side of like actually having a built-in setting for the system, and a lot of information on that, and how exactly are the creatures of that world in that system like, and how exactly they behave, and all that kind of, all those aspects. And I'm curious if they're gonna do it within their existing setting, that being Exandria, which is their Critical Role like D&D campaign setting, or they're gonna do one completely different. Because from what I've seen of some aspects made here in this system, to me it kind of implies that all of this is completely original and separate from Exandria. I've seen references to Critical Role characters, but I don't seen, or NPCs, but I haven't seen actual implications or references that this is actually within the setting. So yeah, that's more of a fan kind of curiosity of mine than anything else. Honestly, it's not necessarily gonna be something that's gonna make or break the system itself, or gonna make it worse or better. I'm just simply curious if how exactly they're gonna approach the aspects of creating their own world based around this system. That'll be interesting. So yeah, creating your own world is not necessarily too much. Customizing your game, as I mentioned before, because I looked a bit at it, it mentions some elements of balancing, which it gives you some good ideas, some good baseline numbers, or for each tier level, for what exactly you should look at when it comes to bonuses and modifiers and damage types, and amount of damage, which is great, because sometimes balancing can be a challenging thing for a lot of game masters, especially those who are not really experienced in these kind of parts of the game. So already having it here is great, you know, also giving you like thresholds for fragile to standard and, you know, hardy enemies. It's also like really great to have. Yeah, gives you like some quick examples of how exactly you can build up an adversary stat and how to modify it. Because they basically say like, okay, now that you have all this information, you can also create basically templates so that you can scale them. So yeah, you can create like a tier 1 assassin poisoner, and then later down the line you can basically upgrade it to a tier 2, tier 3, and so on. Currently there's no like adversary features, so there's nothing to look into at there. Although to be fair, this is kind of, again, technicality things which on the game master side I don't think we should discuss too much, because that, again, when it comes to those aspects of the game master has a lot more free will into changing them. Of course, you can, even on the player side, if you find abilities or aspects of the game that you don't feel representative of what you want to do, you can have a discussion with the game master and equally and with the rest of the players to make sure that everybody is on the same playing field and they feel like, you know, it's okay for everybody for whatever change you want to do. So, you know, so it doesn't feel like, you know, whatever change you want to do for your player character as kind of balancing can outshine in some way or another. You can feel it's a bit overpowered. As I mentioned, like whenever I made like character changes or aspects of how certain rules worked, I always went by the rule that it has to be a unanimous vote. If one person disagreed or didn't fully was on board with it, that rule was never put enforced in any way. I only enforce rules that everybody is on board with them, because I don't want to then, even if let's say the individual at the moment is indifferent, I don't want to encounter later down the line arguments and discussions about the rule because some things have played out in a weird way where it felt like that rule was beneficial, but it undermined one of the players' perspective on it. No, I want to only enforce rules that everybody is agreeing with. Yeah, it also gives you like some examples how to create your own environments. But yeah, this is the side of things that I would want to be added once before I start looking into the entire chapter. Like not necessarily the list of environments, but this, like the homebrew guide, the custom aspects of like domains, adversaries, equipment, the card templates. I've at the very least up until like maybe custom adversaries, like at the very least these ones, because the card templates aren't necessarily that interested, because you can make whatever, you can make something makeshift and some be, or at the very least slowly representative of what you wanted to do when it comes to like custom elements. But these, like the homebrew guide, the custom domain cards, the adversaries, I'm really curious about what exactly they're gonna approach those discussions. And if I'm gonna cover this chapter, I would like to cover it with all of that already put into place, so I don't necessarily jump back into it later down the line. So yeah, I'm gonna keep it you know, on the side for now. Even though, yes, this is an important topic, game masters should, to some degree, at the very least, figure out balancing, and of course, later down the line, start customizing and figure out how to make extra custom elements, but more in the aspects of, you know, custom adversaries, custom environments, maybe custom items in here and there, so you know, you keep things fresh and nothing becomes repetitive. That's basically it. Not necessarily, you don't necessarily have to jump into also making the characters the custom you know, domains or like custom classes or anything of that sort, if you don't feel like it's, if you feel like it's too much of a monumental task to do. Although like considering in how the game is structured, you can't really you can't really jump into that too much. I'm really curious how people would approach custom classes, because I feel like it will undermine to basically use any of the existing domains, because it kind of will jump into the idea that, you know, because the whole point with the domains that the domains were only present in one of two classes. They're only present in two classes to kind of keep them unique, and adding additional custom classes that utilize the same domains removes that uniqueness, in my opinion. A concept that I had that came to mind that maybe I will experiment, or maybe I will do it once I'm a bit more familiar and I actually play the system. I kind of thought of the idea on how exactly to two ideas on how to approach the warlock. Actually, one. My idea with the warlock would be like the one of the examples that was given, I think, by one of the creators, is like if you were to look at the domains and each of the classes with each of the domain and you were to put them in line and how they are interconnected, they would form a circle. The way I would see the warlock consider that he's a pact class, is a class that makes a pact, I would see the warlock somewhere in the center of that circle. Like basically one of their domain is gonna be focused around them as a warlock, which is gonna be their personal own domain that nobody has access to. And their second domain is the domain that they have a choosing from, which is representative of their pact or patron, and will offer them access to one of the other domain, one of the existing domain sets, whichever that one is. So basically, the warlock can be is their custom domain, and one of the existing domains of their choice that represents their patron. That's kind of how I would see it personally. And I would find it kind of interesting. But yeah, again, I need to get myself a bit more familiar with how the game works, it kind of as a whole, and actually play it myself to get a better understanding as I'm playing it, than not just me simply looking at the rules. Especially when it comes to custom domains and with the domains and all of that, because domains have certain themes and mechanical aspects that, you know, are representative of them. So then creating my own custom domain that somehow is either an enhancer or complements all of the other ones equally or in some similar fashion, it's gonna require at the very least some play experience as well. But yeah, let me see. So yeah, I think as a filler, or actually I might have another idea. Let me think about it a bit. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Actually, I'm gonna run it to y'all, if for anybody present. Would you like me to jump into a game instead? Because I'm not sure how much I'm gonna, because I still have like 1 more hour-ish left in this thing. And me going for the adversaries is not gonna be, in that 1 hour, I don't think it's gonna be enough to cover anything else about it. Because it's a lot of in-detail stuff, and I'm not gonna be able to, in 1 hour, to cover all of it. And as I mentioned, next time I don't want to jump into it again. I probably want to jump into, I'm probably gonna take a break and go into do something D&D related next stream, like next week on next Friday. And then after that, maybe decide what other ttrpg I should look into, and maybe change a bit of the structure so I'm not extending the discussion of that system for too long, as I did with the Daggerheart, as I think I went into quite a lot of streams with just discussing Daggerheart. And I don't want to go into that same amount of details and aspects. Maybe I'm gonna run maybe a few streams that kind of cover the bases, like maybe a stream about like character and character creation, maybe a stream about how to play the game, maybe a stream about like running. Maybe I'll figure out like some sort of structure where I discuss topics about it, maybe. Yeah, but I think that I was kind of thinking what exactly game I could jump in right now. Because I don't want to jump into some of the games that I've already scheduled. That's not necessarily what I want. And just something that's quick and short. I don't think I have anything thematic. That would kind of be like a good transition to D&D. I mean, technically there is Baldur's Gate, but that's not like a 1 hour thing. And if I'm gonna jump into Baldur's Gate, I'm gonna jump it into a full stream of Baldur's Gate. So yeah, that's not necessarily something I have in mind. Something multiplayer, I don't know, I don't necessarily feel like it at the moment. The board game related, nah. Yeah. Don't think I have anything to jump into at the time. What do you all think? Would you like to like maybe jump into something else, or like another idea, which I'm not sure if I can cover it if I can just push it for an hour. I was also thinking maybe just have like a general discussion about like Daggerheart as a whole, now that I kind of covered most aspects of it, and from this point onwards, if I'm ever gonna cover anything in the future, it's gonna be anything that is really connected to their updates. As let me just maybe jump a bit into their web page. Not necessarily the web page. This is the Demiplane web page. Which, to be fair, if you prefer something more D&D Beyond like and compendium style, like digital compendium style, Demiplane has a good way of kind of organizing everything that is currently available on Daggerheart. I mean, yeah, I could do a general or like rundown until I close it off for today, and tomorrow I'll jump into my Dark Deity, and then for Sunday we're gonna do an extra stream just because I want to check out the game, and I feel like I'm left out, and I'm not sure for how long I can avoid the spoilers with the Withering Waves, because I'm trying to, as I said, I want to do a blind playthrough, and I don't want to see too much stuff. And motherfucker, I just looked at one video or two of that game, and now my YouTube recommended is fucking flooded with it, and I'm avoiding it like the fucking plague. But yeah, well, to be fair, okay, let me just jump simply into it. I'm not gonna have a structure, so I'm just gonna fucking freeball it when it comes to like me discussing now about like Daggerheart as a general RPG. Just by reading it, I would personally recommend it. Like at the very least, I would imply anybody to at the very least give it a try. Have a test run, have a one shot of it. They offer you like they even offer you an existing adventure module that you can use kind of as a starting point. I'm not sure if they show it here. I wonder, playing an adventure, do they? Or I think, or maybe just the PDF version of it offers it to you. I'm not fully sure. Let me just out of curiosity look really quick. I think they give it to you like separately. Maybe the appendix. GM guide, cheat sheet. Actually, I'm curious. I've never seen it. Oh, hey, hold up. Before I jump into some opinions. Okay, so they don't necessarily have your screen, but they give you as a cheat sheet. But this could be indicative of how exactly the Game Master screen would look like. At the very least, what information you'd find out of it. So it gives you information about the action rolls, what exactly each action roll results means. Oh, some quick runs of the GM principles, like more than anything, kind of the titles, which I really like to have them kind of forefronted here. What are your own moves whenever combat or some kind of scenario happens, with some exemplifiers, which is really nice. Similar to like the character sheet, you also get access to the character traits with some contextualized kind of situations where this traits would apply to, the difficulty scale, and how exactly it gets from very easy to nearly impossible. What exactly can hope and fear be used to as a general tool? How can you benefit from the action tracker, and what you can benefit from it? And how do you activate? And what exactly do the adversaries offer you as a general activation or as a general effect? Oh, that's actually really nice. I really like it. The main decks, I'm guessing it's more of a... Oh no, it's just it jumps you onto the page. Subclass decks, I'm guessing it's similar. Yeah, it's to the subclass view. Ancestry deck and community deck, I'm guessing it's the same. The rest has not yet been fully... I'm guessing they've not, like the terms themselves, probably they're not finalized. Index is probably similar. But yeah, let me just... yeah, because I'll put it... I would love to... I mean, it would have been really amazing if I could have showcased everybody here, but I just want to, let me put it in some way where at the least you can see it. There we go. Are you highlighted? You annoy me. Are you supposed to be highlighted like this? I'm guessing you're supposed to be highlighted like this. I just want to put it in a way that it's still legible on the screen. I don't want to offer credit to all who are involved. I think that's good enough. Yeah, that's good enough. So yeah, I would overall recommend it. To at the very least give it a first chance. To kind of fully exemplify, to fully kind of summarize it, or at the very least do my best at doing it. What I like about it, I kind of like its freeform factor. I like that, you know, you can, it offers you enough structure to kind of, to get an idea, to basically, you have the framework, you have the foundation of it, like when it comes to rules, but from that point on, it's up to you and the group that you're running with, which I really like because it's easy to adapt for whatever type of players you have. It doesn't feel like you're running a specific type of game, which is for a specific set of players that you then have to adapt for others. Because there has been the kind of discussion that, you know, if you're heavily altering some kind of ttrpg, then at that point just try a different system. If you're pushing that much into altering, because there was also, I've seen like that meme of anybody complaining or anybody that, you know, is enhancing the any kind of 5th edition rule, then, you know, Pathfinder players kind of show themselves in like, hey, let me just show you how you could do it, or how it's done in some other systems. Basically, if you like, you know, if you want the complexity and you want the specificity and the crunchiness, yes, there are systems. If you want the more extremely free flowing, there are other systems. I feel like Daggerheart is a great in between. It's a great transition point from both ends. Like for anybody that I would say that for anybody that kind of wants to transition from like a more free flowing system to something a bit more crunchier, or the other way around, Daggerheart is a great in-between because it offers you enough rules and enough structure that can be equally built upon or left as bare bones as it is to satisfy both sides. And depending on how exactly you want to transition, you can slowly add them up as you play. So maybe initially you start the game as it is, and then you just either add more rules and add more details to those aspects, and, you know, discuss with the players. Because again, when it comes to adding new rules, I am again of the perspective that any additional rules added should be discussed with the players and should be in unanimous agreement with the players. Everybody should feel, you know, that, you know, everybody should feel like they're having fun, and that, you know, they're listened to, and nothing is done in some ways that they undermine their own efforts and their own characters or themselves as an individual. So that's a thing. Or, you know, equally can just slowly remove them and keep it more bare bones as you go. and keep it more free flowing. So I feel like that's kind of its greatest asset. Combat is, from what I've seen and from what I've been reading, yes, it's equally free flowing. It doesn't have the strictness of the turn-based systems that usually things like D&D and Pathfinder had, and it's not necessarily as the problem, what I would probably see as the issue for, especially for mostly, although this is mostly an issue that I would see with the beginner types, where they would be overwhelmed by the openness of it and be like, okay, I can do anything, but I do not know what I want to do. And Daggerheart still offers you that the option of, hey, you have these domain cards, you have these features on your class and character, you have the X, Y, and Z. You still have some set in things that you can do and figure out. Like you still have a move and an action, so you still have some stuff set in how exactly you can figure out. I also really like that, you know, it's focused on the roleplay, which to me, from my own perspective, and this is coming from somebody who, to give a bit of background, as a game master and even somewhat as a player, we in most elements kind of been more mechanics and gameplay focus, or like you know, combat or mechanical focus, simply because we played D&D 5th edition, and most of the players that I've played with have not necessarily inclined themselves into that aspect of it. Or if we did it more in the kind of beer and pretzel kind of, you know, humorous, and which is not a bad thing. I've enjoyed all of them. I've enjoyed all of those sessions, but we never jumped into the heavy role plays. And to me, I think Hunter the Reckoning has been kind of the one that has been able to unlock a bit of those aspects. Although I am gonna be honest, they were present for me as a player, have always been present. It's just I don't think I've had the outlet to fully express them. So I like that Daggerheart encourages that. They give you the tools equally for the players and the game master in how to weave characterization, roleplay, backstory, conflicts, you know, goals into everything. You know, they tell you how to figure out like interpersonal relationships about a character's in the interpersonal relationship of a player character between other player characters, NPCs, the world they're part of, and so on. Equally, on the game master side, the system gives you guides on how to figure out like goals and intentions of NPCs, factions, figure out certain elements of world building. But the thing that I like about all of this is that it doesn't trust it entirely on the game master. It gives you tools and methods in how you can do all of those aspects in collaboration with the rest of the players. They offer you templates in how to, as I've just went through right now, give you templates in how to create your own maps and worlds and locations, give you a template into how to set up a one-shot which can be voted, give you a template to kind of figure out how to set up like points of, you know, characters and goals and interests that everybody wants to do. It's heavily character and story focused, which I really like, which is a great starting point compared to some other system. For example, I really like World of Darkness, and I've really enjoyed my experience with World of Darkness because the game itself is built on roleplay. It's all of the mechanics and everything that is mechanical of that game is contextualized in story. It begins, again, just a slight pet peeve, but that's simply because of the nature of the beast and how old the system is. Because I'm talking about first edition here with Hunter the Reckoning, I kind of had a hard time, you know, understanding it, simply because that heavy focus on characterization in the book separated all of the systems in weird ways that was hard for me to cross-reference and look through and figure out how to create my character and how to understand the rules. But once you kind of get how those books are structured, then it's a bit easier. I still struggle some from time to time, but you know, again, that's also I think a product of its own time. I don't think at the time ttrpg creators themselves knew how exactly to structure their own information, and they were still experimenting and adapting on that front as well. But yeah, for someone that has done World of Darkness and everything is kind of fully characterized, you know, if it's kind of implies, because most of aspect, like literally how the way you start World of Darkness, you figure out a concept, and by concept means like what is the idea of this character, like what are their goals, what are their kind of intentions, what what is their day-to-day life kind of, and how has that been affected by whatever now has happened to them, and maybe they become imbued or become some sort of supernatural in some way or another. They're like a vampire or a werewolf. Maybe they're a wraith now, and they have to figure out their own mortality. That they kind of have to accept their death and move on and pass beyond the veil, which is, again, a really hopeful kind of, one of the most hopeful of all of the systems and creatures that you can play as in the World of Darkness. But yeah, as I mentioned, that system is really heavily focused on the roleplay, and for some players that may not necessarily be too accustomed to it, or too accustomed to that more heavy roleplay aspect, it can be a hard sell, or it can be a hard entry point. And Daggerheart for me feels like it's kind of the great transition. It's a good transition for those types of players in any kind of system. Because to be fair, in my opinion, this roleplay should not necessarily be avoided. Just because, Pathfinder and D&D and some other games around the D20 systems are focused on mechanics and focused on the kind of crunchiness of it, that doesn't mean that it cannot be roleplay. The way I play those games as a player is characterization through mechanics. Like all of the mechanics that I choose, all of the abilities that my character can do, that character does them for a reason. They have some personal connection to them. It's part of them. It's not just simply, yes, I'm some kind of tragic character, but I'm also somehow a warlock. No, I still see them as part of their own character, and that's why in some cases I even leave it kind of open-ended when it comes to multiclassing, even though sometimes I plan ahead with character creation. That is also a thing that I do, unfortunately, but usually when I plan ahead, I also plan them ahead with the idea that with the expectation of how the character will evolve. But if things change along the way, I might also change those mechanical aspects of the character, and maybe whatever multiclass I had in mind, or whatever character choices I had in mind for mechanically, might change because of how the character changed. Which is why I also mentioned the example with Damien, that right now Damien is full visionary, has point investments, but maybe I will dip into mercy and zeal by the time I think, depending on what exactly happens and how he evolves as a character by that point. So yeah, that's one aspect that I really like. That it's also great. I think this system in itself could also be a great entry level for beginning game masters, because, as I mentioned, if all of this information that so far has been shown is indicative of what the main book will contain, it offers information, heavy amounts of guidelines and templates and information for you to use as a game master, and especially for beginner game master, for first time game masters. And not only that, but I also like that all of the systems, all of the rules that the game master uses, or the mechanics that the game master uses, are built in specifically in such a way that they can help them to balance on the spot. The fear system in itself is inadvertently built upon this idea that you can balance and just shift the challenge and shift the encounters in the moments, similar with the idea of rolling with fear as well, because if a player character rolls with fear, that gives you the system incentive of, okay, this is your time to bring the twist, because the game allows you to, and because of it, you can then afterwards, they are basically training wheels. They give you an idea of at how often you should bring your own influence, and how often you should add your own improvisation and your own changes on the spot, that later down the line, if you're trying a different system, or maybe even still on Daggerheart, you can then, without even seeing the rolls and without even utilizing yourself, using the actual resources you're given, you already know how to do it on the spot. Like, you know how to shift certain focus to make sure that maybe the challenge is not impossible, or make sure that there are some interesting complications and all that kind of thing. Plus, it encourages you to constantly improvise, constantly change things. Because that roll with fear, that's also another thing. Because it's tied with randomness, it basically, for game masters that are not necessarily used to improv, or used to so much into kind of thinking on the spot, because of the rolling with fear, they are kind of, you know, pushed into that position. Sorry, hydration. And, you know, and encouraged to, okay, this is your moment to improvise, and especially because mechanically you are told, hey, you can't just simply choose to keep your fear token or keep your fear resource every time. Sometimes you might have to use it on the spot, and you need to react in the moment, because you have a limited amount of how many tokens of that type you can have on collected. See, equally to the hope die, which encourages the player to utilize their abilities and not necessarily be greedy about it, and just add things that, you know, add twists, add showcase yourself as a character more often than not, and show what you're capable of doing. So this is another thing that I really like. Of course, I'm talking a lot of like great points on the game master side, because from my perspective and from what I've seen, from what I would consider for any TTRPG, that is the harder part. Like, you know, convincing players to jump into a system it's not the harder part. The harder part is you as a game master to find something that you feel comfortable with, something that you can easily run, and something where you can learn from it and push on, and not also that, but also offer lessons to your players. And because here you get guidelines and how to collaborate together, how to collaborate with your players, how to work together and figure out the plots as a unit, as a group, and not just you being at home or fucking 4 hours, you know, and, you know, 24 hours before the session doing and pulling an all-nighter, trying to do all the shit on your own. It gives you some ideas, it gives you some tips and guidelines in how to handle this situation and how your players can assist you in that, and never feel like you're doing everything. Because believe me, those who burn out the easiest, the fastest, in a TTRPG group is the game master, because they are the ones that are putting the highest amount of effort. So this system basically giving you the information of how to kind of spread out that effort is great, because these are also teachings that you can then take and use in other systems. Maybe the teachings on how to create a map and locations on the spot, maybe you're going to use them for some other system. Similarly, in how to jump into a one-shot or create story beats and acts and all that kind of thing, how to run session zeros and all of that things. Like, it's a great starter for TTRPGs as a general, and I really like it. Now, mechanically and all that kind of thing, yes, it might have some issues here and there, it might necessarily be perfect, but that's something that will change with time. The game is still in playtest. I'm currently right now talking about it in its general themes and how I see it as it is right now. But jumping a bit into the player side of it, I like how it's simple at the same time, but at the same time complex enough to offer you some depth when it comes to character creation. There is depth even in their simplicity of it all. Like, you know, the health system. You have the HP points, the evasion, the stress points, and the armor score. All of them play together so wonderfully. You know, you have numbers where you need to have numbers. You know, you have the damage thresholds that determine how much hit points you are gonna lose, and at the same time you are given the strategic option and the strategic choice of deciding, am I gonna utilize my armor score to mitigate some damage, to lower that threshold, but at the same time putting you in that spot of, do I do it now? Do I keep it for something harder hitting because I have a limited resource? So it gives you those moments of decision, by basically pushing these elements of kind of risk, reward, and the kind of resource management. It can really emphasize like it can really add tension to combat from the player side, and it adds important choices, because all of a sudden armor is more than just a simple like number threshold that determines if you're gonna get hit or not. It also determines how much damage you mitigate. It also, you know, how often you can do that, because I think even some armor slots can be, some items can offer you additional armor slots, I think. Well, that kind of fun. And equally, you know, and one other thing that I've seen, how all of it plays out together, because with the other system like the ancestry, the community, in the class, because even in those situations those can be affected, because you might have like an ancestry or community feature, or maybe like a class feature that plays into those systems and allow you to mitigate how much resources you're using and but still benefit from them. Like I think there was like a race that allowed you to basically just do a dice roll to determine if you're actually using an armor slot or not, or you're just simply taking the brunt force of the damage, like if you were to justify it in world or in session, in game, which I really like. So it offers you synergy. There is a small amount of depth in it, and it offers you the possibility to build, you know, interesting characters, like have characters that are focused on full-on damage mitigation, or like not receiving damage, basically not receiving any form of damage, you know, high minor thresholds, great high armor score, those kinds of things, as well as, you know, characters that are more about like evading, characters that are more about multi-attacking or offering support or mitigating how much resources the game master can do, because that's another thing that I like how all of the domains have a theme and focus on certain mechanics or certain play styles. You know, the bone domain is a bit more tactician, the grace domain is more about mitigating how much fear tokens the game master can generate, or the players can generate for the game master, as well as, you know, the Seraph, another Seraph, the Valor domain. Valor? I forgot. Splendor, that's it. The Splendor domain focused kind of some aspects of healing, but at the same time that kind of implying that, oh, that situation that not everything is permanent, like certain healings are a one-time deal, like resurrection, for example, is just a one-time effect, that should be a one-time ability that you have access to, which is, and it's a max level ability, to kind of imply that you know, death is an important aspect of the game, and, you know, not everybody can not every character can come back from death easily. As well as, you know, offers you even the opportunities to multi-class, and now aside from that, cooperation, because there's a lot of built-in, even in the characters, and elements of cooperation aspects like downtime, player abilities. The hope itself, it has options where you can use it as a help tool for your party. So elements that encourage cooperation are another one, which are a lot more general, that I really like. You know, the downtime, you can offer downtime effects to other players. There are certain domain cards that can offer benefits to other players, or you maybe have a subclass, or not necessarily a subclass, an ancestry or a community ability that can offer those benefits, or can enhance those benefits. So if you want to focus on being more of a support character and more of a you can play into those aspects. And of course the general characterization, because you have the backstory questions, you have the character questions, some even how they structure and all of the details and information that they give you about how each race is represented, and it gives you a lot of kind of guidelines and starting points, and how exactly you can showcase and you can represent your character. Because we've seen with some of the more like animalistic looking ones that they're like on a scale how humanoid to how, you know, animalistic they are. So they even give you some inspiration in how you can you know, characterize yourself. And aside from that, I also liked that they give you also references in how to characterize yourself as a disabled person, and how you can adjust aspects of the game so you can basically highlight those aspects about your character, but while at the same time never hindering them, because you should not be hindered, especially in a fucking fantasy game, or in a game where it's about characters, you know, overcoming the odds, where they're about, you know, succeeding into a goal. Yeah, that's and specifically now kind of jumping into it, because more into the idea of kind of general customization, it lets you a lot of room to add your own touch. Because as I said, it's a framework. It gives you the bare bones. It gives you some tips. It even gives you some optional rules that you can use from the start if you are the type of person that prefers prefers like more rules and more complexity. But it also gives you the liberty of adding your own and adding your own adjustments. How I've mentioned beforehand that how I could have changed downtime into make where each downtime option is available depending on your location and whatever resources are available around you, and maybe certain downtime benefits are only obtainable at a lower level if you're spending the amount equal to a higher level downtime, and all those other things. So you can also make those shifts equally with how, you know, stress points are received and changed. Because me personally, I personally would like the aspect of kind of the risk-reward aspect of the stress points, where if you're utilizing an ability that consumes the stress but you're at max stress, maybe you can make some sort of a roll or some sort of a some sort of a skill check where you can utilize even if you are at max stress, but you get some sort of a you lose something else in it, or maybe you're losing a hit point, like the same way as it was mentioned before. If a character, like if an adversary generates a stress towards a player character, but they are max stress, they then instead lose 1 hit point. Maybe even that could be used as a tool by the player themselves. They can risk their own vitality by using this using an ability beyond their own limits, at the risk that, who knows, they might face an untimely death. Which kind of pushes onto the other aspect that I like, that, you know, even death is it gives you free options and how you can approach it. Like every player can choose whatever they feel fits best for them, or for them, either for them in the moment or for them as a character. Maybe, who knows, if they feel like, you know, a character has finished their arc, they can choose the, you know, Blaze of Glory and finalize the character as they are in the moment. And, you know, you work with and they even give you like suggestion how to work with your game master and basically make sure that final act is significant and impactful and leaves an important mark for the surviving characters. Similar with, you know, avoid death but face consequences, where yes, you are brought back to life, but at each time with the risk that you might lose one of your hope points, to the point where you lose all of your hope points, and now your character, because they lost hope, they can no longer push themselves into being an adventurer, which adds this additional characterization and kind of more poetic depth, that now they can no longer be an adventurer. They are just an NPC, but still offer you kind of this open door of they could still be part of the story. They no longer are the players, and they're no longer under the player's control, but they could still offer you some assistance and some benefits even without it. So yeah, I like that it gives you options to build upon. I like that it gives you a lot of guidelines for the game master side, with, you know, things like I've seen like countdowns, additional rulings for things like fall damage, drowning, multiple, you know, mob rules, what I've seen there, like before that. Of course, they're also gonna give you more in-depth details and how to actually customize it, which I really like, because I'm not sure if most of the DMGs and the Game Master books basically offer you like templates and guidelines into how you can change the numbers, but I'm really curious what kind of guidelines this book will offer you when it comes to full-on homebrewing something from scratch. I'm actually really curious if they're even gonna approach the subject of homebrewing elements from scratch and creating your own unique things that are not necessarily what have been mentioned so far, you know, like equipment, leveling, and environments, adversaries, and all those other aspects. So yeah, what else I could mention? Yes, as I mentioned, I like that they give you some general guidelines when it comes to running a session, and I like that they start from the basic, not from the baseline of, okay, how do you figure out the session 0? How do you make sure that everybody's, you know, needs are met? You're not approaching sensitive topics. Everybody's having a fun time, making sure that, you know, everybody is invested and in some way or another, you know, implicated into the system. and have had their own touch into the sessions or into the upcoming sessions in one way or another, and also give you guidelines on how each player can participate from now on and show their own interest and show how they can assist the game master into enhancing the experience. Am I forgetting anything else that I've not mentioned? Yeah, they offer you general idea of when it comes also to world building and how to approach those aspects. Again, either with the assistance of the other players and their basically their cooperation and basically by bringing their own touch to it. So yeah, it's, if I were to say it, I'm trying to find to kind of describe it in short terms. Daggerheart is kind of it's a system that encourages collaboration for the purposes of creating a compelling and fulfilling story for everybody that is involved in it, while at the same time offering you enough to play around mechanically to be used as it is, or to advance it to a level that feels satisfactory to you, or feels that reaches your own liking. While at the same time offering you all of the tools and guidelines and necessary advice that any player and game master can benefit from, and can be also easily be transferred to other systems. So because of it, Daggerheart is also a great beginning system, a great beginner tool for anybody new in the space that wants to learn and wants to figure out to better understand what TTRPGs can be and where you can push them towards. As overall, as I've mentioned it before, for me TTRPGs, although yes, Daggerheart is focused about being a TTRPG that tells a story, and from my own perspective, Daggerheart is not necessarily Daggerheart, but TTRPGs should you should be able to create a memorable experience, because to me experience is not as heavily loaded. Experience can be anything. It not necessarily has to be some kind of amazing plot twist or amazing thing. It could be just some fun moments or some interesting anecdotes or anything all along those lines or beyond it. Like if some at any point in after the session you or one of your players just basically randomly had a discussion with you or other players about hey, remember that X experience, that X thing we did in the game that was really funny or really terrifying or whatever the heck, then you've done your job. Both you as a game master and them as players they have done their job. If they start talking about and reminiscing and talk about their experiences like they are talking about their real life experiences to some degree, then you've achieved what should any TTRPG system achieve: some sense of community, a sense of collaboration, and harboring fun and a safe space where everybody can showcase their own, tell their own experiences, tell their own who knows, maybe even tell their own hardships and victories. Because TTRPGs can also be a great tool to showcase yourself to showcase aspects of maybe of your own personal life, and in a more safe environment, in a way where nobody judges you, nobody would ridicule you, and in some ways that maybe you can even at some point find advice or find perspectives from the other groups that you can then later down the line apply them in real life, because there have been studies that basically mention that. Sorry? Well, look at this. What do we have here? I'm sorry, but ew, I'm not interested. Yeah. Wait, does that mean that I've reached popularity? If I got bots on my selling fishing me out? Like, whoa, wait, am I suddenly popular? I never expected that. But yeah, none of that. Go away. Don't like it. I don't want your cheap sex potions. But yeah, taking a quick breather. Because that bot flashback me for a second there. Oh boy. So yeah. Anyhow. Yeah, kind of jumping back to the initial thought that I mentioned. Yeah, Daggerheart is a really good system that I would personally recommend, at the very least for a first time, for a one shot at the very least. For anybody, especially for those new into the scene that don't necessarily know how to start it and don't necessarily know how to run it, because this system offers you all of the tools you need to create, you know, interesting characters with great characters with compelling connections, as well as, you know, harbor you know, collaboration between players and game masters to create interesting, you know, stories or interesting events that everybody can then participate together for the purpose, for the pure goal of everybody, you know, having a great time and basically achieving success. That success being, you know, the party overcoming you know, great challenges, because that's kind of the point. You know, it should never be, you know, game master versus players. This is the idea of basically game master should root for the players, but at the same time they should offer them challenges so in such a way that everything that they have achieved feels earned. And Daggerheart offers you enough guidelines into how to think on that, like because that's another thing, like all of those aspects of GM principles and GM how was the other one called? I lost the idea. I've lost how exactly that one was called. I'm just gonna use the cheat sheet as any game master should. The GM best practices. I don't know why I was blanking on it, which is another great thing that they're utilizing and offering you as advice. And everything, you know, with the also harbors a lot of you know, great like interpersonal and, you know, socialization skills, because Daggerheart itself focuses a lot on aspects of improv and, you know, thinking on, you know, adapting on the spot and all those kind of aspects, as even the aspects of like things like character traits, experiences, and all that kind of all those things are so open-ended that, you know, it's up to you to decide when exactly they fit in and when they do not. As well as I mentioned before, on the game master side, when it comes to balancing encounters and equally, you know, combat encounters, social encounters, and, you know, even like exploration or puzzle encounters or some sort of chase scene type encounter, they give you like great guidelines into how to improvise on the spot, and from that point on to kind of develop the skills, you know, passively as you kind of move along and as you kind of play along. So Daggerheart offers you some great like training wheels that you can use them for yourself, and then later down the line, who knows, either in Daggerheart or in other systems, from that point on they become like second nature to you and you no longer need them. You'll just start to get an idea when you should make certain changes and when you should adapt and when you should make modifications that would feel beneficial for the story and the experience you're trying to create. But yeah, I think overall I kind of mentioned all I've wanted to mention. Because yeah, and to be fair, to give like quick feedback on the actual rulings and how everything is structured, I really like it. as somebody who worked in the industry and has had to create a ton of game design documents and to explain how mechanics work, this does it in a great way. They have great visual aids, great examples, great exemplifiers. Which by the way, I like it that they offer you a ton of examples and a ton of way to basically cross-reference and look into it and either copy it as it is or just be inspired or use it as points of inspiration, as a point of inspiration, like similar as we've looked a bit before. They've mentioned in the running a campaign, they give you a full set of examples of character backstory notes that the game master then use it with, and then literally give you a full-on section how those notes have been weaved into an actual story. I've seen similar things for the player side. I also like how the character sheets are visually easy to kind of follow, especially on the level up aspect of things, because sometimes character sheets can be a bit loaded, can be a bit heavy, and sometimes you forget what changes after each level up, what doesn't, and having that kind of level up cheat sheet which also keeps in mind what have you already kind of invested into and what you can invest afterwards is great. And yeah, the rules are concise, they are well explained. I don't think I've had any kind of I've had like rare confusions, but that could also be simply because I haven't fully looked in all of the rules. I've just made assumptions as I went along, or simply they've made changes along the way and nothing in some certain aspects no longer connected in the same fashion. But overall, they're greatly explained, they're easy to follow. I wouldn't have a hard time learning the system by reading it, which is what I did, to be fair. Like me right now going through it, I kind of have a general understanding of how the system works, which could allow me which later down the line would allow me easily to run a session myself of the game if that would be the case at some point. I'll think about it. Again, I've had a discussion with the rest of the Hunter Reckoning players and the goes that's everybody's down to jump into like campaigns and session and game system that others might want to do. So that'll be a neat thing. I know Kieran like heavily mentioned that quite a few times that he wants to do some stuff at some point, and I have my eyes on it. If we're gonna find an opportunity to do it, I'm really curious how Kieran is, because he told me some stories in how he's DMing and how he does his kind of stuff, and I'm curious to see him as a DM as well, because I've seen him as a player and he's an amazing player. He's done some amazing stuff. I like his commitment to his character and to basically putting himself into the mindset of the character. But to be fair, equally I respect all of them. I appreciate all of them are like amazing in their own way. The Kuro and how easily they've jumped on the bandwagon of the ttrpg bandwagon and instantly embraced it, and there was no like stagnating learning period of wait. Where I've seen a lot of like newer ttrpg players, where for some people it's a hard threshold to pass to the realization that, oh, I can do anything or I can make any choice I want and I feel like it's worth it while, and they don't feel that rule limitation that they probably expect from a board game or a video game. And that impressed me a ton. And Samson and Robe for their ridiculousness, and how they've in the way they are embracing the chaos. Because to me that's kind of, in some way to me that's kind of what Samson is. Samson is a character that kind of embraces the chaos, and mostly through Robe. Robe basically pushes Sam. Basically they choose like kind of the chaotic option and push themselves into some ridiculous spots, which I really love. Even though equally me and Damien as a character don't fucking know what's the deal with Samson. He's still a fun character. The man saw the most beautiful elven creature in existence. That chatted him up and wanted to give him his number, and he said no, I'll pass. Fucking legends. Because, you know, if when I thought about it, like, would Damien would have ever, like, in his position would have denied it? Probably not. He would still in some way be like, I mean, yo, kind of hard, but not necessarily full on jump onto it, because, you know, Damien in similar ways as Azama, he's probably more of a on the Demi side, so he wouldn't necessarily be fully interested just from looks and just from seeing somebody, but he would quickly understand the visual appeal, while Samson was like, nah. Which, full on respect, I love it. He's chaos. Samson is chaos incarnate in a weird way, and I love that about him. And, you know, I love, like, some ghost like storyteller methods and how she kind of puts us into fucking insane situations and amazing stuff and offers twists here and there, and I really like it. I'm curious where it's gonna go, and oh boy, we're gonna get into some crazy, that's for sure. We're gonna go into some real crazy. But anyhow, I think that kind of covers it. Not sure if there's anything I would like to talk more about. That's kind of when I'm jumping right now into the chatting. I just want to probably simply have a few minutes here and there just to relax a bit and just unwind before we most likely gonna raid out to somebody else and see what they are doing. And oh, I think I have an idea into who to jump into, because we haven't done it in a while. But before we do that, I'm just gonna keep it there on the sidelines, just so for me to know it. As I mentioned, this is that. I think if there's no, I don't think I've seen any announcement for any kind of new version update of Daggerheart next week. So, as I mentioned, this is probably this stream is gonna be the closing chapter for Daggerheart from now on, and I'm probably gonna just cover new stuff, like whenever it's gonna be some updates and things like that about the game. That's probably when I'm gonna make an additional stream about it and discuss it, because it's still an ongoing and an evolving system that I would like to cover, because just by going through it into those streams, it really piqued my interest and I want to see more of it. So that's something. And, you know, to the point where I'm considering maybe at some point I want to run it, or if anybody else runs it, I would be totally about it to be part of it as a player and that kind of a thing. I know, like, Troy mentioned something about it, but I think he's probably playing it off stream. I don't think he's doing it on stream or anything like that. But anyhow, so yeah, probably for next stream, for next Friday, for the ttrpg stuff, I'm probably gonna jump into something more comfortable before I decide what next system to cover. As I mentioned, I'm probably gonna jump into D&D. I have an idea what I want to do with D&D. I still want to explore that homebrew aspect of D&D and maybe do some homebrew sessions, or like homebrew, like a stream of D&D, because I'm familiar with D&D and I'm okay with homebrewing some stuff. My process is a bit more longer and kind of takes some time, and I'm just probably gonna do some aspects that are a bit easier for me and quick, that I could jump quicker from one idea to another and not necessarily stuck myself to something different. Oh, also I've seen some other individual who's in here. I might shift if I'm gonna jump into on the stream, because I've seen some new peeps just starting streaming, so maybe I'm gonna do that. But yeah, so yeah, I'll see about that. And after that, on the Friday after that one, we're probably gonna decide on a system. I think I might be set on the idea of looking into bunkers and badasses, because I have the books for the longest of time and I've had a chance to look through them entirely. But the thing is, I would like to change a bit my structure with these streams and not necessarily prolong them as much as I did with these ones. Maybe I'm gonna set them in specific themes. Like one stream could be like character creation, another one is about like how the general rules of the game, and another one could be something more on the how the game master things, the game master side of it, how exactly it works, and that kind of and those kinds of aspects. That's what I'm thinking. So yeah, I'll see about that. I might talk with some other friendos and how they are doing it themselves on that end. But yeah, and you know, aside from that, tomorrow I'm gonna jump into, as I mentioned, into some more Dark Deity. I think I'm close to finishing that game, so probably have to quickly look into what's gonna be the next one after Dark Deity. Probably gonna, because I don't want to try a different game each time, like a different type of genre, and maybe cycle through them as I go. And I have to look probably to my backlog to see what I have left, what else is different. And then, as I mentioned, most likely on Sunday I'm just gonna do like an additional stream where I'm just gonna check out Withering Wyverns, have my own opinions, and do kind of like a blind playthrough of it, and maybe just have it kind of as a occasional like casual stream game. We'll see about it. Although I feel like I'll probably have to go through the story of it before, first of all, and I would like to do the stories on stream and keep like some maybe grindy aspects of the game off stream. So who knows, maybe I'll have a few like continuous streams where I'll do the story before up until the point where I basically get to the grind, and from that point on I'll just probably have it a lot less, but we'll see. But anyhow, I think that covers it for now. So let's see who to jump into, because this is a collab stream that I'm seeing here that I wanna, yeah, I'm gonna jump, I know who I'm gonna jump into, because he's been doing this for me for like a few weeks already, for like a couple of streams. So I'm gonna jump into the same thing. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and raid Joe Java, because he's still in his March charity for basically charity against leukemia, and I think there was something else. I forgot the details because I'm bad at memorizing things. But yeah, we're gonna jump into Joe Java because he's still in his charity month stuff, and I want to support charities whenever I can, and or at least support good causes. I'm also might be connected, might do some stuff on my own end as well soon-ish. I'm looking into it. So yeah, we'll see about that. Yeah, let's jump for the raid. For anybody new here when it comes to raiding, this is usually the message that I sent out. So yeah, again, thank you all for being here. Thank you so much, V, for the raid. I appreciate the support and all of you who jumped in there from the raid and been here and, you know, chatted with me or looked with me and seen me how I, you know, basically just yapped away about ttrpgs and in my own like experiences, that kind of thing. I appreciate that you're here and enjoying it yourselves. So yeah, I'll see you all tomorrow for some Dark Deity around the same time I did this stream, and then on Sunday, most likely, although I'm gonna also announce it on the socials, most likely at probably at 5 p.m. GMT, I'm probably gonna jump on that one. So it's also kind of a morning stream for anybody who's US, so anybody can jump in at a decent time. So yeah, that's probably what I'm thinking about it. But anyhow, thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. You're amazing. Don't you forget that. See you on the flip side.